Chapter 2269. Since she could not help much and there were no major issues in the clan, there was no need for her to stay here. Chanshan sensed that she had something on her mind and brought them around before handing them over to the clan members and leaving with Sima Yue. "Why did you come back so suddenly?" Chanshan asked. "I really can't hide anything from grandmother. I have something to ask of you this time." Sima Yue smiled. "I have to leave the divine realm for a period of time, and I want to leave Xiao Dao and Xiao Yao Yao with the clan. It's rare that they have time to come out, so I'll let them stay outside for a while. When the time is up, Ming Hui will bring them to the divine realm." "What are you going to do? Is it because of the vermilion bird?" "Yes. I'm going to look for black tortoise and white tiger." The relationship between the four great divine beasts and the four great divine beasts was not a secret in the divine realm. Now that the four palaces had made such a big move, it was not strange that Chanshan would guess. So she had nothing to hide. Chanshan did not say anything. After a moment of silence, he nodded. "Since the four palaces have already noticed you, they will not allow you to develop. You will encounter many pursuers later on. Are you confident?" "No matter if I'm confident or not, I have to do this. I have to find the other two divine beasts and let the four great divine beasts return to their positions. Only then can we deal with the four great divine beasts." Sima Yue said, "So, I have to go this time. The world will thank you for thinking this way." Chanshan said, "Ever since the four great divine beasts died or went missing, the divine realm had fallen under the rule of the four palaces. Many forces were destroyed and many people were in danger. If the four great divine beasts could return and overthrow the rule of the four great divine beasts, they would save everyone from this disaster." Sima Yue did not think so much. To be honest, she did not have any special feelings towards these people. She was doing this to take revenge for Qi Yin. Qi Yin could not defeat the four great divine beasts alone, so she would find the other two divine beasts and bring them back together. As for saving the world, it was just a matter of convenience. The two little fellows are protected by the people of the underworld. If they want to do anything, as long as they don't go against the four great divine beasts, let them do it. Let them train themselves. Sima Yi didn't want the two children to only know how to theorize without any practical experience. They had to walk their own path in the future. "All right," Chanshan replied. "When are you leaving?" "It should be soon." Sima Yu said, "Lord Jun asked me to wait. I'm guessing that Fu Shi is about to come out of seclusion, so I'm waiting for him to come with me." "You've already met Junbai?" "Yes, before I meet him. He's still resting in the inn outside." Thinking of the divination he had done for her, she was momentarily absent-minded. "I believe that you know your limits. Since you've already planned it out, I won't say anything more." Chanshan's words pulled her back to reality. "When the time comes, I'll get two elders to go with you. Fui's grandmother will go. Fu Shi and I will go alone. The smaller the number, the smaller the target." Sima Yu rejected her good intentions. Okay, Chanshan knew that she would not mess around. Since she was not willing to let people follow her, she would let her be. At night, the Chan family held a welcome banquet for them. Knowing that the young master was back, everyone was happy and they drank a lot of wine. Sima Yue drank a lot. Seeing Wu Xiao Dao and the others drinking so enthusiastically, she pulled her back to rest. Wu Lingyu and Wu Qiao saw the two of them leave and follow them back. After settling the two children down, Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu went back to their room. Sima Yue took a shower and went back. She saw Wu Lingyu lying on the bed with one hand supporting her head and looking at her with a smile. That posture and those lustful eyes were all seducing her. "Have you talked to grandmother?" Wu Lingyu asked. I'll let grandmother take care of Xiao Dao and Xiao Yao for me for a while." Sima Yue walked over. She had just gotten onto the bed when Wu Lingyu pulled her into his arms. "When are we leaving?" Someone's hands started to move. "Let's see what Junbai says." Sima Yue said, "He's injured. Let's go and see him tomorrow and ask him about his plans." "Okay. All right. Why did you suddenly come?" Good nights are short. Let's not talk about those things anymore." The next day, Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu went to look for Junbai. They told him that they had nothing to do here and could leave any time. They asked him when they were leaving. Junbai looked much better than yesterday. After hearing Sima Yuyue's words, he was silent for a while and said, "There are still 2 months. You can go to a place first. I'll take you there." Junbai said, "When I recover tomorrow, we'll go to Luoya Palace first. You can go back and say goodbye to your family." Okay. Sima Yue went back and told Chan Shan. Chan Shan didn't expect her to leave so soon. He was stunned for a moment and said, "Although I knew you would leave early, I didn't expect it to be so soon. However, this matter of yours can't be delayed. The sooner, the better. You can go and talk to the 2 children." Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao weren't surprised to hear that Sima Yue was leaving. Wu Xiaodao hugged Sima Yue and rubbed against her arms, saying, "Although we can't bear to part with Mother, we know that Mother has something important to do. Mother, you have to protect yourself when you go out. Xiao Yao Yao, and I will be obedient. Don't worry about us." Although she knew that she was just saying that, and that she would definitely be naughty and cause trouble later, Yue was still happy. The 2 children were so considerate. "I will take good care of sister," Wu Qiao said. Sima Yue stroked Wu Qiao's head and said, "With you around, I can rest assured that the 2 of you will stay here. When I'm done, I'll come back to pick you up. We'll wait for you and father to come back." Wu Qiao smiled and nodded. His hands behind his back were tightly clenched into fists. Their mother was going to do something important. How could they be a burden to her? They had to act calmly so that Mother wouldn't worry about them. Sima Yue saw that the 2 siblings were forcing a smile. Although her heart ached, she had to leave. The next day, Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao sent Sima Yue out of the Chan family's gate. Seeing Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu leave, Wu Xiaodao bit her lips to prevent herself from crying. Wu Qiao's eyes were also red. Seeing that Wu Xiaodao was trembling, he reached out and hugged her shoulder, saying, "Don't be sad. Mother will be back soon." When Sima Yue arrived at the inn, Junbai was already prepared. When they arrived, Junbai didn't say much. He took out the teleportation array and brought them away. Chapter 2270. When Sima Yue came out of the array, she saw a group of people guarding outside. When they saw Junbai, they bowed. "Greetings, Master Jun. Where's the old guy?" "Palace Master is discussing with the elders about the Dark Dragon Guard. He knew that you were coming back, and specially ordered us to wait for you here." After that person finished speaking, he looked at Junbai suspiciously. The Fallen Cliff Palace had never interacted with the Dark Dragon Guard before. The Dark Dragon Guard had pledged allegiance to the Taotai Palace, while the Fallen Cliff Palace was righteous. Both sides were on opposing sides, but they never had any conflicts. Now that they were suddenly discussing how to deal with the Dark Dragon Guard, and it was Master Jun's orders, they were all very suspicious. "We can go by ourselves." Junbai brought Sima Yue and the others away after speaking. Who were these 2? Master Jun actually brought them over himself. Everyone was curious about Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu's identities, but nobody asked around. Sima Yulin was stunned when he saw Sima Yue on the way, but Sima Yue stopped to greet him first. "Yulin." Sima Yue exchanged a few words with Junbai before walking over to him, smiling. "I knew you were here, but I didn't expect to see you here." Sima Yulin saw her hair coiled up, and then looked at Wu Lingyu, who was behind her. His mouth was slightly bitter, but he still forced a smile, saying, "You're married. Belated congratulations." We got married in the human realm a few years ago." Sima Yue said. "Are you doing well here? You knew I was here." Sima Yulin's smile deepened without leaving a trace. "I know." Sima Yue told him how Fatty Chu and the others were worried about him, and how she got Changjio to find out. When Sima Yulin heard the names of Fatty Chu and the others, his heart was filled with emotions. He asked, "Are they doing well?" "They're all good. I think they'll join us soon." Sima Yue said, "They were just saying that they shouldn't fall behind you. It's good if you can come up." Sima Yulin replied. The divine domain was much better than the lower realms. Water flowed downwards, and people walked upwards. It was good to be able to come up. The 2 of them continued to chat for a bit. Sima Yulin looked at Junbai, who was waiting at the back. After thinking about it, he still asked the question in his heart, "Why have you come to Fallen Cliff Palace?" "Master Jun brought me here. He didn't say anything before this." Sima Yue replied. Hearing Junbai's coughing, she knew that he was rushing her. Since Master Jun has brought you here, there must be something going on. You can go ahead and get busy. Sima Yulin said. Okay, let's catch up when we're free, Sima Yue said and left with Wu Lingyu. Junbai wasn't curious as to how she knew people from Fallen Cliff Palace. When they returned, he brought her to one of the palaces in Fallen Cliff Palace. The Lord of Fallen Cliff Palace had already received the news, so he got someone to bring them to the discussion hall. Why are you here? The Fallen Cliff Palace master looked serious all the time. His unsmiling face made people not dare to do anything in front of him. She wondered how he had managed to cultivate Fu Shi's personality. I brought you here for some matters, Junbai said. Sima Yue bowed to the Lord of Fallen Cliff Palace. You're Sima Yue. Lord Fallen Cliff Palace nodded to her. Thank you for You're too kind, Lord. Sima Yue said lightly. You're discussing how to deal with the Dark Dragon Guard? Junbai asked. Yes. When it came to serious matters, Lord Fallen Cliff Palace was still a little confused. Why are you suddenly thinking about how to deal with the Dark Dragon Guard? Junbai glanced at Sima Yue, saying, I'll explain this to you when we get back. I brought her here today to go to that place. Sima Yue could clearly feel that when he mentioned that place, everyone's body stiffened. Could it be that that place was not a good place? Sima Yue guessed. Lord Fallen Cliff Palace was stunned. He looked at Sima Yue with a deep gaze and nodded, saying, I'll get someone to arrange it. Very quickly, Sima Yulin came in from outside. He bowed to the people in the hall and heard Lord Fallen Cliff Palace say, Yulin, you are siblings. You should take her to that place. Sima Yulin already knew what they were looking for him for before he came, so he cupped his hands, saying, Yes, Lord. Sima Yue also knew that Junbai and the others had something that was inconvenient for her to listen to, so she left with Sima Yulin. Wu Lingyu naturally went wherever she went. Once they left, someone could not hold it in anymore and pulled Junbai, asking, Is he that person? Junbai nodded, saying, 2 days ago, I did a divination for him, and it was without a doubt a heavenly divination. So you're saying that we have to ensure his safety in the future. He has some grievances with the Dark Dragon Guard. When he and Shira go to find White Tiger and Black Tortoise, we have to make sure that he has no worries. Junbai explained about the Dark Dragon Guard, but he did not say anything about Sima Yue and Xin Xiuhi. There were some things that he could calculate, but he could not say. Sure, is about to come out of seclusion, right? They will come out together, then we have to send them away. We have to prepare everything before that. Junbai said. The moment he spoke, the atmosphere in the room became heavy. Junbai made it sound simple, but it was very troublesome for them to do it. The Dark Dragon Guard was under the Taotai Palace. If they touched the Dark Dragon Guard, the Taotai Palace would not sit idly by. Moreover, they knew that the Azure Dragon and Vermilion Bird had returned, so they would not watch them grow up. Therefore, there was definitely going to be a big movement. Fortunately, they had secretly made arrangements over the years, and everyone was already connected. Even if the 4 palaces moved, they would not be helpless. We've planned for this day for so long, and now it's finally coming. Chaoshi sighed. That's right. When that day comes, these old bones of mine can also die of old age. Junbai also sighed. The day when the heavenly Tao changed was not far away, but he could not wait to see that flourishing age with his own eyes. Chaoshi opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything. As a diviner, Junbai should not have been involved in these disputes. He stood on the side of this world and told them many secrets of heaven, and these things were all calculated on him. Now that his body was getting worse, wasn't it because of heaven's punishment? However, they had no choice. The 4 palaces and the forces under them were very strong, and the 4 divine beasts had not returned yet. Everyone was living in an abyss of suffering. If it was not for the sake of setting things right, why would Junbai get involved in this mess? Thinking of this, everyone's mood was heavy, but Junbai was more open-minded. Someone had to make some sacrifices for these things, and he was just risking his life. Chapter 2271. Sima Yu didn't know about the heavy atmosphere in the hall. She and Wu Lingyu followed Sima Yulin and talked about the past. Not long after, they arrived at the place that Junbai had mentioned. This is the sex forbidden area. I can't go any further. Palace Master said that you can go in, so only you can go in. Sima Yulin glanced at Wu Lingyu after speaking. This is the forbidden area of the Fallen Cliff Palace. Why'd I have to go in? Sima Yu didn't understand. I don't know about this either. Sima Yulin was very surprised when he heard about this. But since it was an order from above, he couldn't ask why. He was afraid that Sima Yu would be afraid and said, I heard that there was nothing in the forbidden area. It was just a cemetery. Sima Yu's heart skipped a beat when she heard about the cemetery. Could be Emperor Qing Dao's tomb? Junbai brought him here just to absorb the energy here. She looked at the map in her sea of consciousness. Although there was no Fallen Cliff Palace, the mountain was right. It seemed that the Fallen Cliff Palace knew about Emperor Qing Dao's tomb long ago. They also knew from Junbai that this tomb was not fated with them. They had to wait for her, the fated person, to come. This was the only way to explain their actions. What surprised her was that Emperor Qing Dao's tomb was in the Fallen Cliff Palace. She was going to meet him again so soon. She just didn't know if Xian Xiuhe knew about this. But it didn't matter if he knew. Besides this place, there was another place. As long as she didn't absorb the other place, he wouldn't look for her for the time being. After thinking it through, she turned around and said to Wu Lingyu, Wait for me outside. Wu Lingyu guessed it too. Since she was going to absorb Emperor Qing Dao's power, he would wait for her here. Sima Yu entered the forbidden area alone. She entered the tomb with familiarity and began to absorb the power left behind by Emperor Qing Dao. Xian Xiu, he felt it when she started to absorb Emperor Qing Dao's power. He sat on the throne high up. His clothes were red like blood. So fast, I thought you would drag it out for a while. Sima Yu stayed in the forbidden ground for a few months. Because she was in seclusion, it was like a matter of closing her eyes and opening her eyes. When she came out of seclusion, Fushi also came out of seclusion. He didn't know how Junbai and the others had done it for him. In short, the four palaces didn't seem to have received any news, nor did they sense anything. Fushi was very happy to see Sima Yue. He rushed to her and said, Yue, you've finally come to the Divine Dominion. Why didn't you tell me in advance? Sima Yue smiled at him and said, When I came, I heard that you were in seclusion. Even if I told you in advance, you wouldn't know. You can't possibly postpone your business just to wait for me, right? Even if he wanted to, his group of masters would not agree. In any case, we're going to find Black Tortoise and White Tiger later. We'll have plenty of time to catch up, Fushi said with a smile. That's right. Sima Yue didn't tell him that their future path would be difficult, and she didn't know if he could think of it himself. In a while, when calculating Black Tortoise and White Tiger, Qi Yin would be present. When Vermilion Bird's aura came out, it would naturally attract the attention of the four beasts. If they didn't immediately find trouble with the Fallen Cliff Palace, they could only let Qi Yin leave the Divine Dominion in front of everyone. But he was Vermilion Bird. If he left now, there would only be one thing, and that was to find White Tiger and Black Tortoise. If the four palaces knew about this, how could they let it go? They would definitely send people to stop it. Perhaps they would also use their hands to find White Tiger and Black Tortoise to get rid of them. So their journey would not be peaceful. She sighed her heart, but Fushi wasn't worried at all. He continued to ask, Who did you see after coming up? Did you see Kanan Xian and Muyechi? I only saw Kanan Xian. I didn't have time to see the others. As soon as Sima Yue finished speaking, she heard two familiar voices. As soon as she turned around, she saw two people coming towards her. Aunt Feng. When Sima Yue saw Feng Ruyin, she excitedly walked over. She even bowed to Yuan Xiaojie. Martial uncle. I knew you were in the sect, so I came over. Feng Ruyin still looked like she didn't eat the food of mortals, but the smile on her face showed that she was in a good mood. Before I came to the Divine Dominion, I went to the Feng people to take a look. I knew you were in the Divine Dominion, so I wanted to come up and find you. I didn't expect to see you so soon. Sima Yue held Feng Ruyan's hand and said intimately. Because Feng Ruyan had always taken care of Yue when she was growing up, she had a kind of attachment to Feng Ruyin as an elder. Doing this action wasn't strange at all. When Feng Ruyin and Yuan Shaojie saw her current strength, they sighed in their hearts. Both of them didn't think that Sima Yue would grow to such a height in such a short period of time. She even had such a mission. Sima Yue then told Yuan Shaojie about the Heavenly Heaven School's current situation. Everyone didn't have any anger towards this principal who didn't do anything. Yuan Shaojie was smiling happily. He didn't feel guilty about his actions at all. After talking for a while, Sima Yue saw someone looking for them. She recognized that it was the person who followed Junbai that day. Knowing that he was here to look for them, she didn't say much to Feng Ruyin and the rest. She placed a jade bottle in Feng Ruyin's hand and said, "That day my grandfather drank this to advance to the Emperor realm in the Ghost realm." Feng Ruyin's hand that was holding the jade bottle tightened. Back then, she used other methods to advance to the Emperor realm. However, she wasn't recognized by the Heavenly Tao, so her strength was weaker than those who advanced to the Emperor realm. Sima Yue gave her this. Was it to help her complete the Heavenly Tao? But before she could ask, Sima Yue and Fushi left with that person. Since the Ghost King can use this to advance in the Ghost realm, it must be something good for you, Yuan Shaojie said. I know. Feng Ruyin kept the jade bottle and looked in the direction she left, saying, I knew she was a good child back then. After so many years, she's still thinking about me. She's always been a good child. Yuan Shaojie sighed. Sima Yue and Fushi went to meet Junbai and Zhao Shi. Wu Lingyu was there too. The three of them were discussing something. Junbai saw her enter and frowned slightly. Why haven't you advanced to the Emperor realm? She should be able to advance to the Emperor realm after absorbing Emperor Qing Dao's power. Why did it seem like she was still lacking? I've suppressed it. Sima Yue didn't ask Junbai how he knew she was going to advance. You know that my advancement will cause a huge commotion. There will be flies and mosquitoes behind me. It's good to use the lightning tribulation to clean them up. Most importantly, the lightning tribulation would harm her body. Naturally, she wouldn't be able to find White Tiger and Black Tortoise immediately. They were pressed for time now. Advancing wasn't as important as before. Anyway, the power was suppressed in her body. When she would advance was up to her. Chapter 2272. No one agreed or disagreed with Sima Yue's thoughts. Anyway, she had her own opinions, and Junbai was just asking. Sima Yue knew why Junbai was so surprised. Her strength could have advanced to the Imperial Emperor level last time, but because she had been suppressing it and her realm was not enough, she was not in a hurry to advance. Junbai must have seen this, so he thought that she would definitely advance after absorbing Emperor Qing Dao's power. He did not expect that she would still not advance. Just as she said, she could advance at any time, but she did not want to delay things here because of her lightning tribulation. It was good that she could cheat others later. Shall we start now? She asked Junbai. Let's start. Junbai nodded. Sima Yue called Qi Yin out, and Junbai began to calculate. Halfway through, he asked Qi Yin to input his aura into the divination. Soon, Junbai spat out another mouthful of blood. Sima Yue saw this scene and thought of the divination she did for herself. It was the same at that time, and he also spat out blood. Now, it was related to the 4 divine beasts, and it also had the name of setting things right. Naturally, it was a big matter. Could it be that the previous divination wasn't only about her? Junbai finished after a while. He did not even have time to look at the last divination before Fushi gave him a pill. After eating the pill, Junbai's face became much better, but he was still as pale as paper. He leaned against the chair, obviously using up all his strength just now. Look at the divination yourself, he said weakly. The injury from Sima Yue's divination was still there, and now it happened again. His body was almost drained dry. Fushi's heart ached. He let him rest, and went to look at the divination. After a while, Fushi put away the divination item. Second Master, it's done. Fushi looked at Junbai's almost broken body, and his heart ached, but he had to say, Second Master, the 4 palaces must have received the news that the vermilion bird is out. We have to leave now. Your body. Junbai forced a smile. Don't worry about me. I won't die for the time being. Don't worry and go. When you come back, my body will be fine. Master, I will come back as soon as possible. Fushi replied and then said to Sima Yue, let's go. Wait. Sima Yue came to Junbai and reluctantly took out a box, saying, a divinator friend of mine asked me to find this. There was still some left at that time. I hope it will be of help to you. Fushi took it and opened the box. When he saw the things inside, he couldn't help but get excited. Where did you find them? An ancient battlefield in the immortal realm. Sima Yue said, my friend said that this is very good for divinator's health. I wonder if it will be useful for Master June. It's useful. We've already sent people to look for tears of love, but there's been no news. Fushi was extremely agitated. And you don't just have one or two. Master's body can be saved now. Junbai also didn't expect that Sima Yue would give him tears of love. This was indeed better than anything else for his current body. Previously, he was still worried that his broken body wouldn't be able to hold on until the final victory. Now that he had this, he didn't have to worry anymore. Sima Yue thought for a while and took out 2 jade bottles, saying, Master June's body is very important to the divine realm and even the entire world. So you must take care of your body. With the tears of love before, Fushi and Junbai didn't think that the things she took out were light. However, when they saw the tree of life's essence and the tree of spirit's essence in the 2 jade bottles, they were still stunned. These 3 things could only be encountered and not sought. Moreover, they were extremely good for divinator. If he could get better with the first item, then with the other 2, he could live longer. Yue, thank you. A single thank you couldn't express the gratitude in their hearts. We're leaving soon. We can't see you worrying about the things here. Moreover, if Master June didn't do that divination for me, I wouldn't be injured so badly now. Master June has chosen his side for the sake of the world. The only thing we can do is to give you these things. Sima Yue said, let's leave early. If we attract people, we'll cause trouble for Luoya Palace again. Although they knew that Fushi was from Luoya Palace, leaving from here was still different from leaving from outside. Fushi also understood the current situation. Since he now had Sima Yu's 3 items, he naturally didn't have to worry about his master's health. As such, he left Falling Cliff Palace with Sima Yu and the others and appeared at a place where he didn't know the name of. Say, how long do you think those people will take to come? Fushi asked with a grin. Sima Yue saw that his aura was the same as before and knew that he had concealed his green dragon aura. However, there wasn't much difference between this and the past. We're a black tortoise and white tiger. Sima Yue remembered that Junbai didn't tell her the results of the divination and only showed it to Fushi. Fushi didn't say anything after seeing it, so she still didn't know where to go. Black Tortoise has already returned. We just need to go to Tsangming Continent to find him. White Tiger still needs us to go to Wanyin Continent to add fuel to the fire. Fushi said, can we find him if we go there? If they already knew where Black Tortoise and White Tiger were, it would be easier to find them. That depends on luck. It might be early or late. However, the final result will definitely be good. Fushi said, all right, I have to remind you. After we go down, our strength will be restricted. When the time comes, it might be a little difficult for you to become an emperor. After going to a lower realm, their strength would be restricted to the highest level of that realm. If they went against the heavenly Tao and used power that they shouldn't use, they would be punished by the heavenly Tao. Moreover, one couldn't become an emperor in the lower realms. The heavenly Tao didn't allow it. Thus, she couldn't advance whenever she wanted. However, Sima Yue didn't care about this point. Or rather, this point didn't have any binding force on her. If it was said that the Ghost King's advancement had something to do with the primal chaos river, it was only her guess. When she reached this level, she was already certain of this reason. She didn't know if it was because her soul had been to the primal chaos world or because she had been drinking the primal chaos river, but she didn't feel the suppression of the heavenly Tao. 2 years ago, when she was walking in the lower realms, she felt this way. As long as she wanted to, she could do it at any time. Chapter 2273. No matter what she thought in her heart, Sima Yue did not say it out loud. She nodded to Fushi and said, "Got it. Those people should be here soon. Let's get ready to go." Sima Yue said, "You don't know how to get to Songming continent. Let me do it," Fushi said as he raised his right hand and water blue power gathered in his palm. When the power was almost condensed, he hit the air. Slowly, a space channel appeared in the air. Whoosh! A force came from the space behind, trying to destroy Fushi's space channel. However, when it was about to approach, it was resolved by Wu Lingyu with a wave of his hand. The person who came was shocked. He was already an Imperial Emperor, but this person could still dissolve his power so easily. Could it be that he had already reached the peak of the Imperial Emperor realm? However, Wu Lingyu just stood there and did not show his strength. No one could see his strength. A group of people came out of the space. Sima Yue saw the symbol on their clothes and knew that they were the closest people from the palace. She said to Fushi, "You continue. Leave these people to us." However, she did not move because she received Qian's order to leave these people to him. Wu Lingyu saw that Sima Yue did not move, so he did not move either. Qian transformed into his original form. The fiery red vermilion bird was noble and majestic, inviolable. He looked at the people from the palace and seemed to see the vermilion bird behind him. "Vermilion bird, you really came back." The leader obviously had some status in the palace and knew about the 4 mythological beasts and the 4 murderers. "I'm back. It's time for you to die," Qian said and flapped his wings to attack them. Crimson Flame used the most primitive method. His 2 claws were sharp, and anyone who was caught by him was torn in half by him. With a wave of his long wings, a person vomited blood. These people were all experts. If it was not for his powerful body, how could he use the most primitive method? The most primitive method also depended on absolute strength. Sima Yue also noticed that Qian's body was surrounded by a layer of faint red light, and the power that was attacking him was silently blocked. On the other side, Little Birdie was also very happy. They couldn't withstand its heat anyway, and those who were targeted by it were all burned to ashes. By the time those people were dealt with, Fushi had completely opened up the passage. Sima Yue glanced at the corpse on the ground and said, "Let's go. The sooner we find the black tortoise and the white tiger, the sooner we can return." The group of people left through the spatial tunnel. When the tunnel closed completely, a dead person opened his eyes. His stomach was slashed open, and one of his arms was broken. The man swallowed the pill with great difficulty and rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, he had the ability to play dead, so no one discovered that he was still alive. Otherwise, he would have died today. Not long after, more people rushed over. When they saw the ground littered with corpses and sensed the residual vermilion bird aura in the air, their expressions all changed. "There's a survivor." The man who played dead was discovered. A group of people flew over and asked, "Where's Vermilion Bird?" Vermilion Bird and Azure Dragon left the Divine Realm to find Black Tortoise and White Tiger. The man said weakly, "But I don't know which realm they went to." After he finished speaking, someone immediately flew into the air, and the position was exactly where Fushi had opened the spatial tunnel. He closed his eyes and felt the weak vibrations from the space. His 10 fingers fluttered, and circles of ripples swayed from between his fingers. Not far away, they slowly converged to form a tunnel entrance. After a while, he opened his eyes and stared at the formed entrance for a long time. After getting the answer, he waved his hand and the tunnel entrance disappeared. It turned out that it was not a real entrance, but a fake one. "Master, did you find out where they went?" Someone asked. "I calculated the approximate location. Those few realms could be it." The man replied, "Let's return to the palace first. I have to discuss with the palace master and the divine beast." Yes. 2 people went to carry the living man on the ground. The others went to burn the corpses on the ground. Then, the group opened the spatial tunnel and left. Soon, the people of the 4 palaces knew that Vermilion Bird and Azure Dragon had left the Divine Realm to find Black Tortoise and White Tiger. The people of the Dark Palace gave a range of more than 10 realms. Thus, the main forces of the 4 palaces were transferred to those 10 or so small realms. One of them was Songming Continent. In a snowfield in Sangming Continent, Sima Yue and the others came out of the spatial tunnel. Sima Yue felt the spiritual energy in the air and said, although Sangming Continent is just a lower realm, the spiritual energy here is not bad. It seems that Black Tortoise is quite good at choosing a place. Fushi said with a smile, I wonder where that guy is now. You said that Black Tortoise has returned. I think he should have recovered by now. Since that's the case, why didn't he go to the Divine Realm? I don't know about that. Fushi said, but this guy's temperament is always slow. Even if he has returned, he will slowly grind it down. Then we can only go and find him. Sima Yue also guessed Black Tortoise's temperament and could not help but find it funny. We have to hurry. The people of the 4 palaces are not useless. We deliberately left one alive. I think they already know our approximate location. We have to find Black Tortoise before they chase us here. Fushi said with some helplessness. He had the blood of a dragon in his body. Now that the blood was fully activated, he inherited all of Azure Dragon's power, as well as his memories and feelings. Speaking of Black Tortoise, he naturally brought in Azure Dragon's feelings. No matter who its contractor is, it can't be far from the sea. Let's go find the sea of this continent first. Qian also knew Black Tortoise very well, especially its habit of staying in the sea even though it could live anywhere. Since that was the case, it was most likely in the sea. They flew in the vast snowfield for a long time. From time to time, they would encounter some spirit beasts. They did not need to move. They just released their aura and the spirit beast would avoid them. They went to find a spirit beast to ask about the sea. However, they found out that there was no sea nearby. The spirit beasts here did not have much contact with the outside world. They did not know if there were any further places. These spirit beasts seemed to be very powerful. They're considered the top existences in the continent below. I think the people here would not dare to come in casually. Since there are few people here, there is naturally not much information exchange with the outside world. When we get out of here, we will find someone to ask. They were not in a hurry. They sent the spirit beasts out and flew out. They did not expect the snowfield to be so big. They flew for more than 10 days before they saw a figure. Chapter 2274. In the snow, a woman in a white dress was running for her life. However, most of her white dress was dyed red, making her look like a blooming Dachira flower in the snow. A group of people chased after her, spitting out some unpleasant words. They said that she should obediently follow them back to be their 18th daughter-in-law, and that when the time came, a group of people would come and so on. The woman's face was full of resentment. After being surrounded, she looked at those people and wished she could kill them all. Unfortunately, she was injured and was no match for those people. Thinking of these people's hands touching her body, she couldn't help but feel disgusted. Little girl, you should just obediently follow us. What's wrong with following us? We will give you a wonderful experience. The person who spoke had his eyes glued to the woman's body. He wished he could immediately take off all her clothes. Hey, even if I die, I won't follow you. The woman spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing that there was no hope of escaping, she thought that she could only die today. Little girl, even if you die, your corpse can let us have some fun. However, you won't be able to experience it. It's not worth it. Another person laughed evilly. No matter what she did, they would be able to have a good time. They wouldn't even let her corpse go. When the woman heard this, the way she looked at these people changed. You didn't accidentally meet me. You have a conspiracy. Who sent you here? Mao Hong Xia, it's her, right? Little girl, it doesn't matter if someone sent us or not. You have no choice but to follow us today. Dream on. Since I can't commit suicide and leave my corpse for you, then I'll drag you down with me. If there is a next life, I will definitely take revenge for today. The woman steeled her heart and circulated the spiritual power in her body. Her body slowly expanded. Those people didn't expect that she would actually self-destruct. They were shocked and ran in all directions. However, after running a few steps, they found that they couldn't run anymore. The space was sealed. Then, someone found that the woman's rapidly expanding body slowly collapsed. The self-destruction actually stopped. Who could self-destruct and stop on their own? Not only were those men surprised, even the woman herself was surprised. She was trying her best to drag these people down with her. She didn't even think of stopping. When they saw the woman's expression, they knew that she didn't stop on her own. They immediately became vigilant and shouted, "Who dares to ruin your grandfather's business?" "Huh!" A slap landed on the face of the person who spoke. At the same time, a casual and lazy female voice sounded from all directions. "You dare to call yourself grandfather?" That slap was very skillful. That person was not sent flying, but his face was swollen. The teeth on that side of his face were also knocked out. He spat out a mouthful of blood and teeth. "Who? Come out if you have the guts." Another person called out bravely. "Pa!" Another slap. This person was also beaten until his teeth were missing. What's the point of wasting time on these rascals? After Chi Yin finished speaking, he appeared in the air. As soon as he appeared, everyone's gaze shifted to him. Only then did they realize that those people had actually been there from the beginning to the end. It was just that they had not noticed it. Thinking of this, everyone was even more shocked. What kind of strength did he have to be able to hide his aura so well? Little birdie flew out from its body, and those people didn't even have time to scream before they all disappeared. In just a short while, only that woman was left on the snowy ground. That woman looked at Sima Yue and the other 3 people falling from the sky. Only then did she realize that she had really been saved. Her injuries were not light, but she still struggled to get up from the ground. She bowed to Sima Yue and the others and said, "Thank you for saving my life. Your injuries are not light. Take a pill first." Sima Yue admired this person's character. She was fierce and decisive. This was also the reason why she helped. Looking at this woman's clothes and temperament, her status should not be low. The pill that injured her should not be low either. Who knew that after Sima Yue finished speaking, the woman did not move. She only smiled faintly and said that it was fine. Her injuries would be fine after a while. The injuries caused by self-explosion were not small. Sima Yue understood that she probably did not have any more pills on her. She took out a jade bottle and gave it to her, saying, "Use this first." The woman opened the jade bottle and was shocked when she saw the pill inside. She wanted to say that she could not accept such an expensive pill, but after seeing Sima Yue's eyes, she swallowed her words. She took out the pill and ate it before thanking her again. How many pills that Sima Yue had on her now were ordinary pills? She did not expect this woman to be able to recognize it after being stunned for a while. It seemed that her status was not low. Self-explosion would hurt the meridians. Sima Yue's pill was very effective for these injuries. Her body that was in pain earlier felt much better now. "What is your name?" Sima Yue asked. "I am Wenxi," the woman replied. "May I know my benefactor's name? If there is a chance in the future, Wenxi will definitely repay you. You can just call me Yue." Sima Yue turned her head and saw that the 3 fellows were just sitting there and did not seem to have any intention of talking to Wenxi. She turned her head and smiled at Wenxi, saying, "They are my husband, my contracted beasts, and my friends." Wenxi knew what they meant when she saw their attitude. She also understood that they were not willing to talk to her. She did not feel awkward and only smiled at Sima Yue. "All right, I want to ask you something," Sima Yue said, when she saw that she was looking at her seriously and subconsciously became serious as well, saying, "Benefactor, please ask. Do you have a C here?" When she thought that Sima Yue would ask about something important and did not expect her to ask such a question. She was stunned for a moment before replying, "This is Wang Chuan's snowfield. There is no sea here." "No sea? Songming continent is so big, but there is no sea?" Sima Yue frowned slightly. Could it be that Black Tortoise could endure a place without a sea? Even if it was injured in the past, would it be able to endure a day without a sea after it recovered? When she heard her words, she was sure that she was not from this continent. She explained, "So you are asking if there is a sea in this continent?" "I'm misunderstood. There's a sea in Songming continent, but it is very far from here. There's also a natural barrier in the middle, so the people and spirit beasts here do not know about it." "Then how do you know?" Sima Yue asked. She was curious about the natural barrier. "I'm originally from there. I came here because of some reasons. When she replied, "I've already completed my task. If you want to go there, why don't you let me lead the way?" Chapter 2275. Sima Yue turned around to look at Wu Lingyu and the other two. They did not comment on Wen Shi's words, as if they were waiting for her to make the decision. That natural barrier can't be seen with the naked eye. If you're not familiar with it, you won't be able to find it. When she said, "If you want to go by yourselves, even if I tell you the location, you'll still need some time to find it. If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble you." Sima Yue smiled at her. "Actually, I also hope to go with you guys and borrow your strength to go back." When she knew that she could not hide her intentions from Yue, so she decided to be frank and say it out loud. "I know, it's on the way anyway. If it could save them a lot of time, it was fine to bring her along." "Then let's go." When she said, "Let's wait until your injuries are better before we continue. These 2 days don't matter." Sima Yue knew how serious her injuries were. It would take twice the effort to bring an injured person along. She could also use these 2 days to do something. When she was a little happy, although she felt that she could hold on, it would be better to rest for 2 days. Hence, she was even more grateful to Sima Yue. "Do you know the distance from the barrier to here?" Sima Yue asked. "I know." When she nodded, "Are you going to set up an array?" "Yes. Since you said that it's very far from here, we'll naturally need to use an array." Sima Yue asked about the direction and distance of the barrier, then said, "Go and rest first. I'll call you when I need you later." "Okay." When she did not decline, she took out a bed and placed it on the snow. Then, she sat on it and started to heal her injuries. Sima Yue started to set up the array. As it was a long-distance teleportation array and they had quite a number of people, she set it up very carefully for safety. When she was done, when she woke up, "You're recovering well." Sima Yue saw that her injuries were much better. She knew that other than the pills she gave her, there were other reasons. "I learned a technique that's very useful for healing injuries." When she did not hide it, she had a feeling that her little secrets were no secrets in front of Sima Yue. Moreover, she wouldn't value these secrets of hers. As expected, Sima Yue did not ask her anything. Instead, she said, "The array is ready. Let's go." The group of people arrived at the teleportation array. Sima Yue activated the teleportation array by injecting her spiritual power into it. When she then noticed how big the teleportation array was, this level of skill and strength was not something an ordinary person could achieve. However, before she could think about it any further, they had already disappeared from the array. Before she left, she only had one thought. What a waste. There were so many array stones, and they were all gone after one use. How rich and overbearing. A few days later, in an inconspicuous small town, some people were holding a wedding banquet. Suddenly, a vibration came from a wine table. Those people quickly left the table and stared at the table vigilantly. Not long after, a spatial passageway was opened. The few of them came out of the array and landed on the table. Luckily, the vibration just now caused the table to tilt. Everything on the table fell to the ground. Otherwise, they would have stepped into the dishes. Sima Yue looked at the place where they appeared. She saw the courtyard full of people staring at her. She could not help but twitch her lips. The location of the exit was too deceptive. A few people walked over from the other side of the courtyard. When they saw Sima Yue and the others' imposing manner, they did not rush forward to scold them. "Sorry, we didn't expect the exit of the teleportation array to be here," Sima Yue said. When a few people heard this, they respected Sima Yue even more. To be able to set up a teleportation array, these people's identities were definitely not ordinary. "It's all right. It's just a banquet. Bring the guests to another table and squeeze with them." The leader instructed the people beside him. At first, the guests thought that Yue and the others were here to cause trouble. Now that they knew that they were just passing by and there was no conflict, they felt relieved and continued to eat and drink. Sima Yue took out a box and passed it to that person, saying, "I don't know what good news you have. Take this as a congratulatory gift and also an apology gift." "How can I accept this?" That person declined for a while, but still accepted it in the end. "Elder, we would like to ask, how far is this place from the east and west barriers? When she asked, if we use the teleportation array to go to the city, it will take half a month. Thank you. When she was shocked but did not show it on her face. After thanking that person, the group of people left. She did not expect Sima Yu's teleportation array to be able to transport almost 4/5 of the distance. Moreover, it took less time than a normal teleportation array. How powerful must one be to be able to do this? 1 month is too long. Let's go take a look at the teleportation array. Sima Yu said, and the group of people went to the city. After they left, that person opened the box that Sima Yu gave him. When he saw the medicinal ingredient inside, he was stunned for a long time. Master, what's wrong? A person came over and was also stunned when he saw the medicinal ingredient in the box. Sima Yu did not take this small incident to heart. After they arrived at the city, they went straight to the Spirit Master Guild and spent some crystals to study the array. The people from the Spirit Master Guild did not agree at first. Sima Yu and the rest only showed a little of their power, and the people from the Spirit Master Guild immediately cleared the teleportation array and invited them over. After a while, Sima Yu managed to find out the spatial coordinates of the teleportation array. Then, the group of people left the city and found a desolate place. They spent a day setting up the teleportation array. This time, they arrived at the place that when she mentioned. It was a stretch of mountain range. The layer of barrier looked similar to a spirit barrier, but it was much stronger than a spirit barrier. If you want to open this barrier with your power, you must be at least to the monarch rank. Otherwise, those sects would use secret techniques to open it. When she explained, therefore, other than those from the big sects, people from the east and west rarely go to the other side. Is the power of the east higher than the west? Sima Yu asked. Yes. Therefore, most of the people from the east come to the west. People from the west rarely go there. When she replied, when Sima Yu and the rest entered the city, they realized that the people here were not very powerful. It was unlikely that they would be able to pass through the barrier. Let's go over. After Sima Yu finished speaking, Wu Lingyu had already opened a gap in the barrier. The four of them walked over one after another. Wu Lingyu retracted his spirit power and closed the gap again. They were prepared to go outside to ask for directions. However, they stopped after walking for a short distance. Stay here and don't move. Sima Yu waved her hand, and a protective layer appeared to protect when she raised her head and saw a group of people coming out of space. From their aura and gaze, she knew that they did not come with good intentions. Chapter 2276. Those people had the 4 beasts embroidered on their clothes. It seemed like the people from the 4 palaces were here. I didn't expect you to come so quickly. Fu, she sneered. I admire your spirit of death. Azure Dragon, you're still so stubborn even when you're about to die. The higher-ups have given the order to kill you on sight. Then come and try. Fushi flew into the air and transformed into the Azure Dragon. He spat out a dragon's breath at those people. Crimson Flame also transformed into his original form at the same time. The aura of the Vermilion Bird was released without reservation. The aura of the 2 divine beasts almost suffocated all the spirit beasts in the mountain. Sima Yu and Wu Lingyu moved as well. There were a few people on the other side. They couldn't just rely on Fu, Shi, and Crimson Flame. Both of them didn't have any fancy moves. Every time they attacked, it was a fatal attack. And Sima Yu's understanding of space was already at the peak. With the help of teleportation, those people didn't even know where she attacked from. Sima Yu and the others purposely moved the battle far away so that when she wouldn't be affected. A small part of the power was blocked outside by the protective circle. When she was in the protective circle and watched the battle in the air with her mouth agape, she knew that Sima Yu and the others were strong, but she didn't expect them to be so strong. And those two, they didn't talk much and kept a low profile. She didn't expect them to be the Azure Dragon and the Vermilion Bird. At this time, she finally understood why they were looking for Hai. The battle didn't last long. Although the other side had many people, they couldn't kill them. Sima Yu and the others came back very quickly. Seeing Wen Shi in a daze, Sima Yue removed the protective circle and said, "Are you okay?" When she came back to her senses and looked at Sima Yue, she hesitated and said, "You're here to look for Black Tortoise, right? I know where Black Tortoise is." "You really know where Black Tortoise is?" "Yes, but I only know the rough location." When she said, "To tell you the truth, we're here to look for Black Tortoise. Since you know where it is, please lead the way." Sima Yue smiled. "All right." Sima Yue was very happy. Previously, she thought that she would have to search along the sea area bit by bit. Now that she knew the general location, it was much easier. 3 months later, they appeared in a city near the sea. This city was very big and prosperous. It was also very close to the sea. Standing on the city wall, one could see the sea. In the past 3 months, they had encountered 2 more ambushes. Each time, there were more and more ambushes, but they were all dealt with by them. However, they were not happy because the time between the last time was shorter than the last time. This meant that the higher-ups already knew that they were in this little realm, and they might launch a large-scale attack at any time. They didn't have much time. "The Black Tortoise is here." Fushi did not sense the aura of the Black Tortoise in the city and asked, "No, but this is the nearest city." When she said, "My house is here. I need to go back and tell my family that I'm safe before I can accompany you there." "Is that place very dangerous?" Sima Yue asked, when she was stunned for a moment and nodded. "The people who went there in the past few years have not returned, so I want my family to know that I went there. Tell us the location and you don't have to go." Sima Yue did not want her to be in danger. "I want to go with you guys." For the first time, Wenshi's tone had a hint of urgency. Sima Yue raised her eyebrows and looked at her. "Friends, please prompt. Pay attention to the rest of your eyes after reading for a long time. 00 recommended reading." He didn't say anything. However, when she felt that all her secrets had been seen through, for the first time, she said uncomfortably, "I know that person. I want to meet him. After you find him, you will take him away from here, right?" Sima Yue understood and said, "All right then, we'll give you 1 day. We'll meet at the city gate in 1 day." "All right." When she smiled gratefully at her. A sharp voice came from the side. The voice was filled with surprise and unwillingness. After hearing the voice, Wenshi's face darkened. She looked at the woman and sneered, "I'm sorry to disappoint you, Mao Hongxia." When Sima Yue heard the name, she looked at the woman. She was the one who sent people to deal with Wenshi. She probably thought that everything would go smoothly, so she was surprised to see Wenshi. Speaking of which, she should be surprised. If she did not meet them, Wenshi would not have returned. However, she did not intend to interfere with their private matters. She said to Wenshi, "We'll go look for an inn first. Don't forget about it tomorrow at this time." "All right." When she did not intend to let Sima Yue get involved, she nodded and agreed. "Stop!" Mao Hongxia shouted subconsciously. She did not know why she shouted. In her mind, it was because of these people that when she survived. Moreover, Sima Yue was so beautiful that she subconsciously felt hostile towards her. Sima Yue glanced at her indifferently. Then, she turned and left. Mao Hongxia was nailed to the ground by her gaze. Her back was drenched in cold sweat. That gaze was too scary. When she saw that Mao Hongxia dared to scold Sima Yue, she felt a sense of satisfaction. Seeing her frightened look, she walked to her side and sneered. "You're right. They saved me. You dare to stop experts like them? I really admire your courage in courting death." Mao Hongxia's gaze turned to Wenshi. She was still in a daze. "Although I really want to get rid of you now, I still have things to do. I'll let you live for a few days. When I'm back, I'll settle the old and new grudges with you." When she turned and left, she could not kill Mao Hongxia now. That would offend the Mao family and delay their journey. It was more important to find Black Tortoise now. She could not be delayed because of this. She had to see him for the last time. Sima Yue and the rest went to find an inn to stay. They did not care about how and she would deal with the rest. Then they stayed and was very high. Standing by the window of the room, they could see the sea outside the city. Wu Lingyu returned to the room. Seeing that she was in a daze, he walked over and hugged her from behind. He said softly, "Are you thinking about what happened just now?" "Yes and no." Sima Yue leaned back on his chest. What happened just now reminded me of the first time I met Master. Your strength to me was like that woman to me today. It made me dazed for a moment. At that time, she was weak and could only look up to them. Now that she was standing at such a height, it was their turn to look up to her. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Chapter 2277. Wu Lingyu wasn't as worried as she was. He hugged her and said, "The four great spirit beasts are much more sensitive to each other than other spirit beasts. If Black Tortoise is in the sea, let Crimson Flame release its aura and it will know." "I know that. I'm just worried that something might happen to Black Tortoise." Sima Yue said, "Although we've left, we can imagine the situation in the divine territory. The four palaces won't let Luo Ye Palace off, and Luo Ye Palace won't wait for death. Once the battle starts, it won't end until the four great spirit beasts are out. I wonder if it will affect the Chan family and bring danger to Xiao Dao and Xiao Yao Yao. The two of them have people from the underworld protecting them. They'll be fine." Wu Lingyu comforted. "I hope we can find Black Tortoise and White Tiger soon and end this quickly." Sima Yue sighed. "We will." The next morning, Sima Yue, Fushi, and the rest went to the city gate to wait. After a while, they saw Wen Shi and two other elders walking over. Seeing Sima Yue, Wen Shi said apologetically, "Yue, these two are our elders. They're worried about my safety, so they want to go with us." When she felt embarrassed to bring them along without Yue's permission. However, her family didn't want her to go alone, so she had to compromise. Sima Yue didn't think much about the two extra people. They were just two spirit beasts, so they wouldn't affect them much. The group left the city and reached the coastline not far away. When she came to the coastline and blew a whistle, after a while, a whale swam over. "The sea is quite far away. Let's ride the whale," When she said. They flew onto the whale's back, and the whale swam towards the depths of the sea. Sima Yue realized that the whale was much bigger than normal and was very obedient. "We've been living by the sea and tame some sea beasts occasionally. It's convenient to travel. When we're not around, they're no different from normal spirit beasts. They'll only enter this state when they hear the whistle." When she explained, it was different from normal taming methods. This reminded Sima Yue of the hypnosis methods in her previous life. The whale was very fast. In a few days, they were deep into the sea. After the whale sent them to a small island, it didn't want to go any further. "After this island, we'll reach the deep sea. Ordinary sea beasts wouldn't dare to enter." When she patted the whale, and it sank into the water and swam away. "Miss, it's getting late. Why don't we rest on this island for a while before continuing?" The one family elder suggested. The deeper they go into the sea, the more dangerous it. They didn't know the strength of Sima Yu and the others, so they didn't dare to enter rashly. One looked at Sima Yue waiting. Yue's Yue and Yue. Hence, they found a flat land by the shore and set up a few tents. When Sima Yue finished setting up the tents, she saw when she's standing by the sea, letting the waves wet her dress. Sima Yue walked over and accompanied her to look at the moon. She said softly, "Are you thinking about the Black Tortoise's contractor?" "You know," when she was surprised. "I don't know what happened between the two of you, but I know that there's a story between the two of you." Sima Yue turned around and smiled at her. "From your expression, it doesn't look good. At least, you're not happy. How about it? Instead of being sad here, why don't you find someone to talk to?" When she looked at her, perhaps she was infected by the smile on her lips, she also smiled. However, there was a hint of bitterness in her smile. "The Black Tortoise's contractor is called by Xiaofei. We used to be from the same sect. But at that time, one of us was an inner disciple while the other was an outer disciple. At that time, we knew each other's names because I was a genius and he was a famous piece of trash. I once saved him when he was being bullied, so the two of us slowly got to know each other." When she smiled deepened as she thought about the things between the two of them. It seemed like the things between the two of them were pretty good at the beginning. Sima Yue did not rush her. She looked at the rising and falling of the sea. When she regained her senses and smiled at Sima Yue, she continued, "Later on, he committed a crime, and was chased out of the sect. He even stood on the opposite side of the sect. Because of some misunderstandings, our relationship became worse and worse. Then, there was one time when I chose to stand on the side of the sect. He was injured and ran away. We never saw each other again. Does he like you? Sima Yue asked. Maybe he used to like me, but he was hurt by me, so he doesn't like me anymore. When she smiled bitterly. But I never told him that I like him. If you meet him again, will you tell him? When she shook her head. I know that he made a contract with Black Tortoise. From that moment on, I knew that he would not stay here. Now that you guys are here to look for him, he will naturally leave with you guys. Since we won't meet again, why should we say it out loud? Moreover, he doesn't even want to see me. I just want to see him from afar. Seeing him leave with you guys will make me give up. Sima Yue thought that might not be the case. Although Black Tortoise was slow, it would not drag things out even though it knew that it had a heavy responsibility. So, it should be its contract owner who was dragging things out. As for the reason, who knew if it was because it could not bear to part with her? All right, what do you guys think is going on with the sea? Because many sects were suppressing him, he retreated to the sea. Later on, there were many sea beasts in the sea. Very few people who went there could return alive. Xiao Fei was controlling the sea beast from behind. No one saw him again. When she said, I see, Sima Yue was no longer worried. The one controlling the sea beasts was naturally Black Tortoise. As long as it was not some unfathomable natural factor, it would not be too dangerous. When we find him, we will ask him to leave with us. If you were to choose, would you go with him? Leave with him? Yes, if you were to leave with him, you would have to leave your family and your sect. Then, you would have to embark on an unknown journey with him. I have seen it too. We are being chased by people along the way. The danger is self-evident. If he leaves with us, he will be involved in these dangers. I'm only asking you this question from a woman's point of view. Think about it yourself. Think about it when you see him. You won't have so much time to think about it. Sima Yue left after speaking, leaving her alone at the beach for the entire night. Chapter 2278. When Sima Yue returned to the tent, Wu Lingyu was already waiting for her on the bed. When she was done, Wu Lingyu asked her, why did you want to kidnap her and leave with us? I think that by Xiao Fei probably couldn't bear to part with her. That's why he kept delaying the Black Tortoise from going to the Divine Region. Bringing her along would make it easier for us to persuade him. Sima Yue replied, and there's one more thing that I like about her. When I saw her standing by the sea, it was as if the world was in despair. Since it's so painful, why don't you chase after her? She grew up under all kinds of rules, so I'm just giving her some advice. What she thinks is up to her. You're so kind. Wu Lingyu hugged her. If you ask me, that by Xiao Fei was not brave enough. Do you think everyone is as thick-skinned as you? Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him. It's better to be thick-skinned. That's the only way to get a wife, isn't it? You don't know how many times I've rejoiced that I was thick-skinned enough back then. Wu Lingyu casually set up a barrier, isolating the inside and outside of the tent, then began to attack the city. The next morning, when Sima Yue woke up, the others had already packed up their tents. They were just waiting for the two of them to finish packing up before they could set off. Now that we're here, we can only fly over ourselves. The one family elder said. Sima Yue thought for a moment, then called Little Rock out. The sea beasts here are not low level. I'm afraid that normal flying beasts will not be able to withstand them. We'll have to trouble you. Little Rock transformed into his original form and said, It's no trouble. I feel that I'm finally useful. Come on up. Sima Yue called Wen Shi and the rest up. The two Wen family elders were still in disbelief when Little Rock flew up. They could actually sit on the golden-winged rock one day. This wasn't a dream, right? They peeked at Sima Yue. They heard her say that she was very powerful, but they didn't expect her to have such a contracted beast. How strong was her true strength? They flew deeper into the sea. From time to time, there would be some auras of sea beasts emerging from the sea, but it didn't affect Little Rock much. Just as they were about to approach a small island, the spirit beasts in the sea suddenly attacked. They were no longer releasing their auras. Furthermore, there were quite a few sea beasts that came to attack. Sima Yu guessed that Black Tortoise was controlling them from behind. Little Rock nimbly dodged the attacks, causing the sea beast to be infuriated. The two elders of the one family wiped the sweat off their foreheads as they looked at the densely packed sea beast below. Fortunately, they were not the only ones who came. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to return alive today. Bai Xiaofei should be on the island in front. When she pointed at the island in front of them. Yu, there's a barrier in front. I can't get through. Furthermore, there's a very strong pressure here. I can't hold on much longer. Little Rock said. Little Shi, is this the aura of the Black Tortoise? Sima Yue asked Fushi, but she was very sure. There were not many auras in this world that could make the golden-winged great rock unable to hold on. Fushi nodded his head and flew into the air. The huge green dragon made the spirit beast below not dare to attack again. Little Rock also did not have to dodge the attacks. He spat out a mouthful of dragon breath towards the barrier that was blocking their way. Faint ripples slowly appeared on the barrier. Fushi spat out a few mouthfuls of dragon breath, but was unable to completely break through the barrier. It actually enveloped the entire island. Sima Yue said, "This barrier is quite sturdy. The Black Tortoise's shell is thick. Among the four of us, its battle prowess is weak, but its survival skills are the strongest." Fushi said disdainfully, "Green Dragon, you bastard. You actually dare to speak ill of me behind my back." A flustered and exasperated curse followed by a ray of white light. It passed through the barrier and directly attacked Fushi. Bang bang, Fushi swung his tail and swatted the white light into the sea. It was unknown when the spirit beasts in the sea had all dispersed. "Green Dragon, you bastard. You promised not to slap me with your tail." The Black Tortoise cursed without any confidence. Very quickly, a palm-sized little tortoise flew out of the water and landed in front of everyone. Sima Yue curiously looked at the Black Tortoise. In her memory, the Black Tortoise should be mature and steady. Why didn't it give off the feeling of maturity and steadiness? Could it be that it was too excited? Fushi ignored him and transformed into a human and landed beside Sima Yue. He said, "Why aren't you removing this thing of yours? Aren't you very capable? You still can't break through my defense." The Black Tortoise said angrily. However, it still opened its mouth and allowed Little Rock to bring everyone in. It was only after entering that Sima Yu realized that a man dressed in black had appeared by the shore without her knowing. Little Rock landed and transformed into a human and followed beside Sima Yue. The Black Tortoise also transformed into a human and looked similar to the old man in the painting. However, looking at his character, it was more like an old urchin. "Green Dragon, who are these people? I know the young lady from the one family. Who are these two people? This young lady is quite pretty." The Black Tortoise smiled as it sized up Sima Yue. Bai Xiaofei's gaze landed on one Shi from the start. He frowned as if he was wondering how she was related to the Green Dragon and the others. Sima Yue smiled at the Black Tortoise. With a thought, Chi Yin appeared beside her. It's actually you." The Black Tortoise saw Chi Yin and cried out in surprise. It even ran behind Bai Xiaofei and hid behind him in fear. Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. The Black Tortoise was actually afraid of Chi Yin. "Since you've already returned, why are you still here?" Chi Yin reprimanded with a sullen face. "I've also just returned not long ago. I suffered serious injuries before and have only just recovered." The Black Tortoise protested softly. "Also, I predicted that you would come to find me. I might as well wait for you here so that we wouldn't miss each other." Sima Yue pursed her lips. The Black Tortoise probably didn't believe his own words. It was obvious that he was lazy and his contractor was reluctant to leave. That was why he waited here. Chi Yin understood the Black Tortoise's character better than her. He snorted coldly. "You've already given up? Using your turtle shell?" "I already said that I'm not a turtle shell. If you continue to be like this, I'll get angry." The Black Tortoise protested. "All right, we don't have so much time to waste on you. If you have nothing else, we'll leave." Fushi was still worried about the white tiger and urged the Black Tortoise. When she heard this, she subconsciously looked at Bai Xiaofei. Thinking that he was about to leave, her heart was sour. She lowered her head to hide the tears in her eyes. The black tortoise looked at Wen Shi and then at Bai Xiaofei. He transmitted his voice to him. We should go. Bai Xiaofei cupped his hands towards everyone. We have nothing else to do here. We've already packed our things. We can leave at any time. Just as he finished speaking, there was a familiar vibration in the air. It seemed that a group of people was chasing after them. Chapter 2279. The people from the four palaces came out of the space tunnel. When they saw Qi Yin and the others, they attacked without saying a word. There was Black Tortoise's barrier here. Those people attacked the barrier. With hundreds of experts attacking together, the barrier became shaky. Damn it! How can you break your great-grandfather's barrier? Black Tortoise's eyes turned red when he saw the people from the four palaces. He did not forget how they were defeated by the four beasts. Sima Yue used to create a protective circle for Wen Shi. This time, she did not do anything and went to fight with Wu Lingyu and the others. Bai Xiaofei was not familiar with them, but he knew about the grudge between the four beasts and the four beasts. If it was not because he was worried, he and Black Tortoise would have gone to take revenge on the people from the four palaces. Therefore, when they saw the people from the four palaces, they also flew out to join the battle. Wen Shi's strength was not weak, but it was not enough in front of the people from the four palaces. Therefore, she and the elders could not go out and could only watch from the barrier. She knew Sima Yue and the others' strength, so she was not worried about them. Her attention was all on Bai Xiaofei. Bai Xiaofei's strength was not as good as Sima Yue and the others, but he and Black Tortoise cooperated very well. He didn't know what he had experienced, but his attacks were filled with a biting chill. However, he had never experienced such a strong battle before. The people from the four palaces were much stronger than the people from Songming continent. After a long time, it was a little difficult for him to deal with them. The people from the four palaces seemed to have realized that he was a breakthrough point. More people rushed to him. When she was anxious, seeing that he was surrounded by people, she finally could not help it. She ignored the elders and took out her weapon and flew over. The two elders had no choice but to come out with her. Bai Xiaofei already felt a chill behind him. However, he did not have extra energy to deal with it. He could only take the sword. Clang! The sound of spirit weapons colliding came from behind. He looked sideways and saw her in white. He pushed back the people in front and shouted at her, "Why did you run out? I can't just stand by and watch you get hurt. Wherever you are, I will be there," when she said as she pushed him to the side and faced the person who was attacking her. Bai Xiaofei was angry, but now was not the time to scold her. However, the tacit understanding between the two of them was still there. With Wen Shi joining them, he was indeed a little more relaxed. However, this was unable to stop the waves of attacks from the four palaces. "Be careful." Bai Xiaofei heard a cry and felt a soft body hugging him, followed by the sound of sharp weapon piercing into his body. "Miss!" The two elders rushed over when they saw that Wen Shi was injured. Sima Yue heard the commotion and felt that it was about time. With a wave of her hand, a few hundred ancient war souls appeared and shifted all the pressure away. Wen Shi's body fell. Bai Xiaofei turned around and hugged her. When he saw the long sword on her back, his eyes turned red and the veins on his forehead popped out. He kept calling her name as if she would disappear in the next second. Sure. Don't worry, I'll take you to heal now." He carried Wen Shi through the Black Tortoise's barrier and came to a small wooden house. He placed Wen Shi on the bed in the house. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu followed him and watched him feed her pills helplessly. Sure. Don't sleep. Open your eyes and look at me." Bai Xiaofei patted her face gently. "Brother Xiaofei, I really didn't say that I wanted to kill you. It's all Master's fault. When Wen Shi spoke, the blood in her chest surged up. I know. Even if everyone stood against me, you wouldn't." Bai Xiaofei grabbed her hand that was about to touch him. "Brother Xiaofei, if time could turn back, I would definitely leave with you. Unfortunately, Shi'er can't follow you in the future. No, you just said that wherever I am, you will be there. How can you abandon me? In the next life, I will definitely follow you and never leave you. I don't want the next life. I want this life. You know, I didn't leave because of you. If it wasn't because I was worried about you, we would have left long ago. Why wait until now? I've waited for you for so long. You can't leave me at this time. Hearing your words, I'm satisfied. Sheer, you can't sleep. You can't abandon me. Sheer, you can't. Sima Yue saw that the two of them were almost done talking, and then said, if you continue to block her, you will really lose her. Bai Xiaofei stood up and said, do you have a way to save her? I do now, but if you dawdle for a while, there won't be any left. Sima Yue said, then come quickly. Please save her. Bai Xiaofei stood to the side and looked at her earnestly. Sima Yue walked over and took out 2 pills to feed her. Then, she flipped her over and used a pair of scissors to remove her clothes. She took out a few silver needles and inserted a few needles around the wound. When the bleeding stopped, she cleaned the wound and took out some medicine to sprinkle on the wound. Then, she used gauze to bandage the wound. It's done. Sima Yue stood up and said, help her clean the bloodstains on her body later. That's it. Bai Xiaofei saw that she didn't do much. That's it. It's just some external injuries. The effect of the pill is enough. Sima Yue said. Bai Xiaofei wanted to say that the sword had hurt her internal organs, but seeing Sima Yue's determined look, he was afraid that she would get angry and not treat when she. Sima Yue saw that he was nervous and didn't dare to offend her. It was a far cry from the cold and arrogant look he had when they first met. It seemed that when she's appearance really scared him. Don't worry, I'm the one who saved her life. Since I saved her back then, I won't let her die now. She comforted him. She met with danger before. Yes, when we first came to this mainland, she was being chased by a group of men. That she self-destructed. I stopped her from self-destructing halfway. Sima Yue said, if she wasn't lucky enough to meet us, she would probably have stayed in the West. She just recovered not long ago, and I saved her again. She's really pitiful. Bai Xiaofei didn't hear the rest of her words. His mind was only filled with when she's self-destructing look. When he thought about how he almost couldn't see her again, he blamed himself. In the face of life and death, he suddenly felt that all his perseverance wasn't important anymore. Nothing was more important than her. Sima Yue saw that she had fanned the flames and turned to leave. The moment she went out, she was stopped by Black Tortoise. Chapter 2280. Black Tortoise pulled her to the side, where Qi Yin and the rest were standing. Yue's when she all right? Black Tortoise asked with concern. Don't worry, she really only suffered some superficial injuries. Sima Yue assured. It just looks dangerous, but it's nothing serious. That's good. Black Tortoise was relieved. You don't know, my contractor's temper isn't very good. He suffered a lot when he was young, and because my abilities were damaged, I couldn't help him much. Cece, that girl, could be said to be the only light in his life. Even after so many misunderstandings, that kid's heart had never changed. If something really happened to Cece, this guy wouldn't be able to take it. You're the one who found it troublesome, but you still say that Bai Xiaofei refused to leave. Fushi reprimanded it. Aya, there are 2 reasons. Black Tortoise knocked on the turtle shell on its back, ignoring Fushi, and continued to pull Sima Yue. Did you arrange today's matter? Why do you say so? Sima Yue smiled. She didn't deny it. It's very obvious. Since you have so many ancient war souls, why didn't you take them out earlier? They came out the moment Cece was injured. That means you were paying attention to that place. Am I right? How would I know that the people from the 4 palaces would come at this time? Sima Yue leaned in front of Black Tortoise, whispering, but you guessed it right. How is it? Isn't this a good idea? It's indeed not bad. Black Tortoise patted Sima Yue's shoulder approvingly. I was still worried about how to resolve the misunderstanding between them. I didn't expect you to solve it so quickly. Although the medicine was a little too strong, the effect was immediate. Not bad, not bad. So, when she's injuries are healed, we'll leave this place. If you have anything to do, hurry up and do it. There's nothing much, but have you confirmed the location of the white tiger? Black Tortoise asked. Sima Yue looked at Fushi. Previously, he did not mention the location of the white tiger. He only said that the white tiger had not returned. Fushi shook his head. Master's divination only mentioned the location of the black tortoise. As for the white tiger, we still need to use your tortoise shell. I already said that it's not a tortoise shell. Azure Dragon, do you want to fight? Black Tortoise waved his hand at Fushi and threatened. Can you beat me? Fushi rolled her eyes at him. Let's get down to business first. Once Crimson Flame spoke, Fushi and Black Tortoise both quieted down. Fushi glanced at the Black Tortoise. The Black Tortoise reluctantly reached its hand into the turtle shell on its back. After rummaging around, it finally pulled out a small turtle shell. Fushi took out other divination tools, squatted on the ground, and began to calculate. Sima Yue did not understand what they were doing, so she went to Wu Lingyu's side and waited for the results with him. Fushi calculated again and again on the ground. He calculated again and again until Black Tortoise ran out of patience. My shell is very accurate. Is it because you're not strong enough? Black Tortoise shouted. Fushi sat on the ground. The divination just now had consumed a lot of his energy. Sima Yue saw him like this and asked, Little Shi, you didn't calculate it? I've calculated it, but the result. Fushi sighed heavily. How can it be? Did something happen to the white tiger? The white tiger has not contracted with its master yet. Fushi threw out a bombshell. I calculated that the white tiger situation should be fine, but it has not been contracted, so it can't return. Can it not be contracted? Sima Yue asked curiously. You don't have a master, right? I died that year, and my power and inheritance were sealed in the Dragon God's order. So my current body is both a master and the Azure Dragon. Fushi explained. But the white tiger is the same as Crimson Flame and the others. It needs a master to balance it before it can return. In other words, the white tiger has not met its master yet. So what we have to do is to find its master. Sima Yue understood. You should have calculated who its master is and where he is, right? We can go find him directly and let him contract with the white tiger. Isn't that good? In theory, that's the case. But in reality, it's not that simple. Why? Because its master is still a child. Fushi closed his eyes and said helplessly, We have to find that child now and let him cultivate. When he has the ability, he can then contract with the white tiger. Uffed. Then we have to wait for a few hundred years? Not necessarily. Fushi said. The divination said that the white tiger's master is a person who is going through a tribulation. There might be other possibilities. Yue, I still need you to do this. Me? Sima Yue blinked. What do you need me to do? According to the divination, you have a master and disciple relationship with him. Fushi said, You need to find him, accept him as your disciple, and guide his cultivation. And tell him how to contract with the white tiger. Black Tortoise continued. Fushi shook his head and said, I can't tell him about the white tiger. The white tiger's location is unknown. Only its master can find it. Outsiders can't interfere. So, I'll have to rely on Yue for this. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. Why'd I have a bad feeling about this? Since everything else had been decided, they could only wait for one Shi to recover. When Sima Yue and the rest were almost done with their discussion and returned to the wooden house, when she had already woken up, seeing Sima Yue enter, Bai Xiaofei, who was sitting beside the bed, stood up and bowed to her. Thank you, Yue, for saving Shi twice. Bai Xiaofei, when she and I are considered friends. It's my duty to save her. I saved her life. Who are you to thank me? I've decided to marry Shi. I'm thanking you as her fiancé. Bai Xiaofei said solemnly. In that case, the misunderstanding has been resolved and the former enmity has been buried. Sima Yue looked at Wen Shi. She shyly buried her head in her arms. This is a good thing. What's there to be shy about? But, just like what I told you before, Bai Xiaofei is destined to be with us in the future. Have you thought about it? Do you want to go with him? If I was a little hesitant before, after this incident, I already know what I want. Wherever Brother Xiaofei goes, I'll go. Even if there's endless danger in the future, I won't regret it. When she raised her head and said firmly, Not bad. Then lie down obediently and let me change the medicine for you. The sooner you recover, the sooner you can be together." She said it innocently, but it made when she blush. She lay on the bed and didn't dare to look at her. Chapter 2281. With Sima Yoyue's pills. When she's body recovered very quickly. After her body recovered, the two elders returned to the clan. When Shi and Bai Xiaofei leaving Songming continent was not a small matter. They had to go back and report to the clan. They did not have to worry about their safety on the way back. It was dangerous in the past because Black Tortoise controlled this place and did not allow outsiders to enter. Now that they had an agreement with Bai Xiaofei, this danger naturally did not exist. Black Tortoise found a sea beast for them and let Hai Sheng bring them out. Then, without waiting for the Wen clan to reply, they held a simple wedding for her and Bai Xiaofei. When the Wen clan came, they had already passed the bridal chamber. When she tied her hair up and looked completely different. When the Wen clan head and madam saw her like this, they were furious. They pulled her and Bai Xiaofei into the small wooden house and talked for a long time. When they came out, their faces were still ugly, but they did not ask when she to go back with them. Wen Shi and Bai Xiaofei sent the Wen clan off and walked back hand in hand. Black Tortoise leaned on Fushi and could not help but cry. "How many years has it been?" I finally saw him smile again. "All these years, I was almost frozen into an ice cube by him." "You're stupid." Fushi pushed him away and patted the place he leaned on in disdain. "Since the matter is almost settled, let's prepare to find White Tiger," Chi Yin said. When he mentioned White Tiger, he could not help but frown. He did not know how long it would take to find White Tiger, nor did he know what would happen. Even Black Tortoise's shell could not calculate White Tiger's whereabouts. It was most likely covered by the heavens. This way, the people from the four palaces would not be able to find it and would not be able to chase after it. Similarly, they would not be able to find it. They could only find it by looking for its contractor. It's time to go find it. But before we leave, we have to do something to distract the attention of the four palaces. Fushi said. The people from the four palaces had been chasing after them. They had to make some preparations so that the people from the four palaces would not follow them to find White Tiger's whereabouts. A few days later, the group of people left the small island. A few days later, the four palaces arrived at the small island. One of the black-clothed men circled the small wooden house twice and began to calculate their location. After a few calculations, he vomited blood and fell to the ground. "How is it?" The leader walked over and asked. "My lord, I can't deduce anything." They tried to cover it up, and the results of their calculations were different every time. It was impossible to know which one was correct. It's even possible that these are all wrong. Dio Swansea clutched his chest in pain. "Can't you think of a way?" The leader grabbed Divinator's collar and shouted. That Divinator had already suffered a backlash. Now that he was yelled at, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. After searching for a while, the people from the four palaces had no choice but to retreat. Without a specific target, the four palaces could only send more people to the few continents mentioned by the diviner. At the same time, they also increased their manpower in the other continents. This lessened the pressure on the Fallen Cliff Palace and the others on the Divine Dominion continent. Black Tortoise, Vermilion Bird, and Azure Dragon had already met up. The current situation was very grim. The most important thing now was to quickly find White Tiger and Vermilion Bird. They must not let the four divine beasts meet up. As for the Fallen Cliff Palace and the others, it would not be too late to deal with them after the four divine beasts were eliminated. At this time, Sima Yue and the others had already arrived at the Wanyan continent where White Tiger was located. That day, Jun Bai's divination showed that White Tiger was on this continent. Other than that, there were no other clues. Fushi used Black Tortoise's shell to calculate more accurately, but it was only a rough area. What Sima Yue had to do was to find that person in such a large area, accept him as a disciple, and teach him cultivation. Not only that, she could not tell him about White Tiger. He could only search for it himself. Who knew how long it would take for him to find White Tiger? Just thinking about it made her feel like collapsing. No, it was a heavy responsibility. You go inside and look for it. Fushi took her to the outside of school. You wanted to be a teacher? Sima Yoyue's mouth twitched. Did he make a mistake? Since we are fated to be teacher and disciple, we naturally have to lean towards this direction. Don't those who don't know how to cultivate all come here to learn? Fushi explained. There were fewer sects in the Wanyan continent, but there were many academies. If one wanted to find someone who did not know how to cultivate, this kind of place was better. I just used Black Tortoise's shell to divine. That person will meet you in the academy. So you have to work hard. We will buy a courtyard nearby. You can come and find us when you are free. Fushi patted her shoulder and comforted her. Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu. Wu Lingyu shrugged and said, I believe Yue will be a good teacher. Sima Yue, she pouted. She was not very happy. If it wasn't for the grim situation, she would have thought that they were playing a trick on her. She closed her eyes and sensed the situation in the academy. Then she turned around to look at everyone and said, You guys just wait for my news. After saying this, she walked towards the academy's gate. However, she was blocked by the guards at the gate. You are not a student of the academy. You cannot enter. The guard said, I'm not a student, but I will soon become a teacher here. Sima Yue calmly said, What? The two guards looked at each other. When did the academy have such a teacher? But when they looked over again, they found that there was no one in front of them. The scene just now was like an illusion. Sima Yue walked in the academy. Looking at the students coming and going, she guessed which one was the person she was looking for. Her appearance attracted a lot of attention, especially the males. She was good-looking to begin with, and with her natural temperament, she unconsciously attracted the attention of others. Some students were more daring and directly went up to her and said, This student, I have never seen you before. Which year and which class are you from? Sima Yue blinked and said, I am not a student of the academy yet. But can you tell me how to get to the principal's office? You want to find a principal? I can bring you there. Thank you. Sima Yue smiled at him. The male student felt that he was floating. The other students were secretly hating. Why didn't they have the courage to go up and talk to her just now? He brought Sima Yue to the principal's office. While chatting on the way, Sima Yue found out that they would be recruiting new students in a few days. She thought that after meeting the principal, she would ask to be the new student's teacher. Since she said that she would bring that person into the academy, then he must have not started cultivating. A new student would fit the criteria. Chapter 2282. Sima Yue followed the student to the dean's office. Someone was talking inside, so they waited outside. Oh yes, I haven't asked you. Why are you looking for the dean? I'm here to apply for the position of a teacher. Sima Yue said, The next time you see me, I might be a teacher. Ah. The student widened his eyes in shock. This was the first time he had seen such a situation. He wanted to ask her why she only came at this time, but Sima Yue did not intend to explain. Thank you for bringing me here. I'm going in now. The student wanted to say that there was someone else in the office, but the door suddenly opened. A teacher walked out. Miss, the dean invites you in. Sima Yue entered the office. There were 3 or 4 teachers sitting inside. When they saw her enter, they all looked at her. Miss, what brings you to the academy? An old man sitting behind the desk looked at her kindly. Sima Yue thought of the dean of Dong Chen Academy. He was dressed in white, just like her. His hair and beard were all white, and he had a celestial aura. She bowed to the dean and said, I'm here to apply for the position of a new teacher. Do you still need teachers here? You? Miss, how old are you? The dean did not say anything, but a round-faced man sitting beside him asked first. I'm more than 200 years old. Sima Yue said honestly. More than 200 years old, and you want to be a teacher? We have a lot of students who are 400 or 500 years old who have not graduated. Since I said that I could be a teacher, I naturally have the ability. Sima Yue said confidently. Oh, then show us your ability now. If you are qualified to be a teacher, we will hire you as a teacher. You are just toying with us. Not only will you not be a teacher, we will also hold you responsible for trespassing. The dean said, All right, what do you want to test me on? Give me a question. You don't want to ask us what we want to test you on? You can choose. How arrogant. It's good for young people to be confident. If you go overboard, you will be conceited. The round-faced teacher said, only people with power can have such an aura. Sima Yue said, can you refine 8th grade pills? The round-faced teacher asked. Sima Yue did not waste any more time. She took out her pill furnace and herbs and started to refine the pills in front of them. The round-faced teacher was an alchemist. He could tell that Sima Yue was an alchemist from the way she was refining the herbs. However, he was still shocked when he saw that Sima Yue had used less than half the time to concoct a grade 8 pill. A 200 years old 8th grade alchemist. No wonder she had such confidence. Do you know how to set up a race? Another teacher asked her. Sima Yue smiled at him and slowly disappeared under their gazes. Then, she slowly reappeared under their shocked gazes. This move made everyone unable to remain calm. They had clearly seen her disappear, but they hadn't felt the slightest fluctuation. If they hadn't been watching her, they wouldn't have noticed that she had just disappeared from the room and reappeared. Do you still want to take the other tests? Sima Yue asked. What else do you know? I know how to refine weapons, tame beasts, search for spiritual energy, medicine, and poison. Sima Yue replied. If they hadn't seen her display her skills, they would have believed that she only knew how to refine them. Since she could ask them to set any questions, it meant that she was confident in the other tests as well. Pardon me for asking, but how high is your cultivation level now? Sima Yue casually set up a barrier and released a portion of her spiritual energy. Although it was only a portion, it was enough to shock everyone. Furthermore, they could tell that she had not fully revealed her abilities. It should be said that she had already reached a level that they had never reached before. Principal, may I know if I have been hired? She looked at the principal and asked. I have another question. The principal did not seem excited when he saw a genius. Why did you come here to be a teacher? The moment he asked, the other teachers quietened down. This was a very important question. They couldn't just let anyone come here to be a teacher. I'm looking for someone, my friend divined that he and I have a master-disciple relationship in this academy. Sima Yue said, so you don't have to worry that I have any bad intentions. Then what kind of teacher do you want to be? This meant that he had been hired. Let's just cultivate. Sima Yue recalled that Fushi had said that she would guide that person into the academy, so it would be best if he had a cultivation level. That wasn't right. Those who could enter the academy should already have a certain foundation in cultivation. So how could she guide him into the academy? Cough, cough, that, I think I should go and teach alchemy. She smiled and looked at the principal. Is that all right? Yes. The principal did not have any requests for another teacher. He could already tell that she was a strong person who would not stay in the academy for long. She would leave once she was done with her matters, so it didn't matter what teacher she became. He pointed at the round-faced teacher and said, this is the director of the alchemy faculty, Dong Li. He will arrange everything for you. Director Dong Li, I will have to trouble you. Sima Yue bowed to Dong Li. Since you have been assigned to me, then you should come with me to familiarize yourself with the environment. When the new students arrive in a few days, you can take them to class. Dong Li brought her away. Sima Yue obediently followed him and left. Principal, why did you agree to her? Someone asked. It was too dangerous to let someone of unknown origin stay in the academy. Do you think that if you don't agree, she will leave the academy? If she wants to stay here, do any of you have the ability to stop her? The principal glanced at the person who spoke. We have to be on guard at all times, so why not agree and let her come here openly? All right, if there's nothing else, you can leave. Dong Li brought her around the alchemy faculty, then brought her to an empty courtyard. This courtyard is near the back of the mountain. It's a little far from the teaching area, and it's a little small. Just make do with it. When we have a bigger courtyard, I will change it for you. Dong Li said. Sima Yue sized up the courtyard. It was not big for a teacher, but she did not have any requirements. She could live in it no matter how big or small it was. No need, I'll take this. It's better to be further away from the teaching area. It's quieter. She felt that the environment was just right. It was not easy to find such a quiet place in the noisy academy. That's good. You can tell me if you have any requests. Dong Li took out a stack of papers and said, "This is our academy's introduction and rules. You could take a look at it when you have the time. You can't let new students come in. As a teacher, you are also blind, right?" Sima Yue took it and sent Dongli away, then cleaned up the room and began her teaching career here. Chapter 2283. Sima Yue had never thought that she would become a teacher one day. When she accepted Mu Si as her disciple, it was mostly due to external factors. If Mu Si's adoptive father didn't die because of Sima Lu Xian, if he didn't follow her out of Go City, she might not have accepted him as her disciple. Now that she thought about how she was going to have a large group of students, she felt a little strange. When she thought about the white tiger contract that she had no clue about, her strange feeling turned into helplessness. In the past few days, she had read through the school's introduction and rules and had a rough understanding of it. Qingfeng Academy was considered a clear stream in the school. The other academies were entangled with various powers, and their students had become the reserve army of those powers. Only Qingfeng Academy abided by the school rules and was unwilling to rely on those powers. If it was just an ordinary academy, it would be fine, but it was better than the other academies in all aspects. Sima Yue could imagine that Qingfeng Academy would be seen as a thorn in the side sooner or later. For example, those powers that it had rejected, like the other academies. After familiarizing herself with the situation in the academy, it was finally time for the new student selection. She had nothing to do, and when she wandered around the academy, she consciously turned to the place where the new students were selected. The teachers in the academy all knew that there was a new alchemy teacher in the academy. They all knew that she was mysterious and strong. She was very young and also very beautiful. So the teacher in charge of the assessment recognized her when he saw her and even greeted her, asking if she had anything to do. "I'm just looking around. You guys continue," Sima Yue said as she went to sit at the side and quietly watched the teacher organize the assessment for those who wanted to enter the academy. She looked at those young faces and thought of the first time she saw Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang. At that time, the two of them also stood in the queue like this. It was only when they tested that they had multiple spiritual powers that everyone's attention fell on them. The incident at that time was still vivid in her mind, as if it was yesterday. At this time, a few beast carriages ran over from the back and didn't stop in front of the queue. When the people in the queue saw the beast carriages rushing over, they dispersed. The beast carriages stopped in front of the glazed ball. Those young people were furious at first, but when they saw the symbol on the carriage clearly, they could only suppress their anger in their hearts, not daring to say anything. The teacher in charge of the assessment had a bad expression. When he saw the people coming down from the beast carriages, he didn't have a good expression. Seventh young master, if you are here to participate in the academy's assessment, please line up at the back, the teacher said. The one who came down from the beast carriage was a teenager. He raised his chin, looked at the teacher arrogantly, and said, "What did you say? It's your honor that this young master came here to learn. It's fine if you don't invite me over with a palanquin, but you actually want this young master to line up? According to the academy's rules, everyone who comes later has to line up. Seventh young master, please." The Clearwind Academy's rules are really strict. Since this prince is here, do I have to line up as well? A young man of about the same age got out of the beast carriage behind them and stared at the teacher with malicious eyes. There was a smile on his face, but sent chills down everyone's spine. This person was definitely not someone to be trifled with. However, Sima Yue did not care about such a character at all. Her attention was focused on the few guards standing beside the carriage. Have you ever seen a monarch-level expert as an ordinary guard? Even the coachman was one. These people must have come with ill intentions. Fourth prince, why have you come to a small academy like ours? The teacher in charge of the assessment spoke in a more respectful manner, but there was still no smile on his face. This prince is naturally here to participate in the selection of new students. The fourth prince walked to the side of the seventh young master and said, "Do you think this prince needs to line up as well?" Sima Yue looked at the teacher in charge of the assessment, thinking that they should give the imperial family some face. She did not expect that the teacher in charge of the assessment would nod his head and say seriously, "That's right. Fourth prince and seventh young master, please line up at the back." Sima Yue raised an eyebrow. The teacher in charge of the assessment should have been able to see the strength of the guards and rejected them so bluntly. Could it be that the teachers in the academy were all so unyielding? Or could it be that the relationship between the two parties was so bad that there was no need to give the other party any face? She propped up her chin with her left hand and tapped lightly on the table with her right, not saying a word as she continued to watch. The fourth prince's face fell, and he stared coldly at the teacher in charge of the assessment. "Say that again." "Fourth prince, since you intend to enter our academy to study, then you should be familiar with the rules of our academy. So please line up at the back." The teacher in charge of the assessment said. "Impudent." The guard beside the fourth prince shouted, and without any explanation, he struck his palm towards the teacher in charge of the assessment. The teacher in charge of the assessment did not expect them to attack so suddenly and was unable to react in time. He was sent flying and fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "You're just a teacher in the academy. How dare you disregard the fourth prince and the imperial family? Today, we'll teach you how to conduct yourself on behalf of the academy." The seventh young master said, "All of you, go and tell him what the way of a ruler is." As soon as he finished speaking, the person who had attacked just now began to condense his spiritual energy. Sima Yoyue's eyes darkened. That person's actions were obviously trying to kill the teacher in charge of the assessment. The teacher in charge of the assessment also realized that he had been imprisoned by an unknown force and could not move at all. Not only him, but even the teacher who was assisting the assessment was also imprisoned. He could only watch as the spiritual energy attacked the teacher in charge of the assessment. All the students present were shocked. They did not expect the selection to suddenly turn out like this. Everyone thought that the teacher in charge of the assessment would definitely die. Unexpectedly, after the spiritual energy dissipated, he was still in the same state as before. Everyone was shocked, and the fourth prince and his guards were even more shocked. Today's incident was planned by them, and they knew that they had secretly sent experts. What they wanted to do was to provoke a conflict with the academy. They did not expect that the teacher in charge of the assessment would be saved by someone under such circumstances. Furthermore, they did not even feel that someone had made a move. How could they not be worried? They thought that the dean had made a move, but the dean did not appear at all. At this moment, they were being surrounded by people and could not get away. Could it be that there were other experts in the academy? The fourth prince gave the guard a look, and the guard attacked again. This time, his strength was even stronger than before. Just as he was about to touch the teacher in charge of the assessment, a light breeze blew past, and the spiritual energy dissipated just like that. Only then did everyone turn their attention to the girl in white sitting behind the table. She looked quite young. Was it really her? Chapter 2284. Who are you? How dare you obstruct us from enforcing the law? The guard shouted. Enforcing the law? Sima Yue lowered her left hand and looked at the fourth prince. Weren't you guys teaching this teacher a lesson on behalf of the academy? Why are you enforcing the law now? I wonder which law you guys are upholding. Who are you? The fourth prince looked at Sima Yue with vigilance. She was sitting there just now, but they didn't notice her. She was actually able to suppress her presence to such an extent, it seemed like she wasn't someone to be trifled with. But when did the Clear Wind Academy have such a person? Would this person become a variable in their plan to reclaim the Clear Wind Academy? I am a teacher who just arrived at the academy. Sima Yue replied. You guys killed a teacher at the academy's entrance. Don't you think that you guys are going overboard? Impudent. The fourth prince is teaching a lesson to someone who doesn't understand his honor, and you actually stepped in to protect him. I think you guys are in cahoots with him. You guys don't even put the fourth prince and the imperial family in your eyes. The seventh young master shouted. Huffed. Hearing those people's words, Sima Yue laughed out loud. Her contemptuous gaze seemed to have seen through everything, making the fourth prince and the others very unhappy. What are you laughing at? Do you know what crime it is to mock the imperial family? The seventh young master asked. I don't know what crime it is, but I know that no matter what we say or do today, you guys will pin this crime on us. Sima Yue said, you guys have 18 Monarch-level experts as your guards, and 3 Paragon-level experts secretly holding the fort. Don't tell me that every prince has the same guards as the 4th prince when he goes out. I think that even the emperor doesn't have so many experts protecting him when he goes out, right? All right, 7th young master. The guards beside you are also such experts. Are you a prince as well? What nonsense are you talking about? The 7th young master shouted, and the other guard beside him immediately attacked Sima Yue. The two of them weren't far apart, and the spiritual energy almost reached her in the next second. However, she just disappeared from where she was standing. Where's she? The students exclaimed when they saw that Sima Yue had disappeared. The 4th prince and the others, as well as the teachers of the sect, were extremely surprised. Sima Yue had disappeared without a trace. Furthermore, there wasn't a single trace or movement. They had no idea where she had gone. A blood-curdling scream was heard as a figure fell from the sky and landed outside the academy's gate. Following that, 2 other people also landed from different directions. When the 4th prince saw those 3 people, his face instantly turned ashen. Without waiting for him to react, Sima Yu's sleeves fluttered as she descended from the sky. She's like a fairy descending to the mortal world. Someone exclaimed. Sima Yue landed in front of the examiner, looked at the 4th prince, and said, 4th prince, are you going to line up or go back? She didn't say who the 3 people on the ground were, but the 4th prince knew. In such a short period of time, Sima Yue had found 3 monarch-level experts. If he was smart, he would know what to choose. Their plan had been exposed, and the other party was terrifyingly strong. With such people around, it would be impossible for them to succeed today. If this woman attacked him, no one would be able to stop him even if he died. I've never lined up in my entire life. Let's go back. The 4th prince flung his sleeves, turned around, and boarded the beast carriage, and left with his people. They didn't have the arrogance they had when they arrived, and left rather pathetically. After they left, Sima Yue turned to look at the examiner and asked, are you all right? The examiner had already stood up and bowed to Sima Yue. Thank you, Teacher Yue, for saving my life. These kids couldn't tell, but he knew. Just now, Sima Yue had used the space seal to seal the space around him, saving his life. You're welcome. Since we're colleagues, it's only right for me to lend a hand. Sima Yue smiled. Teacher Chun, we've completely offended the 4th prince's faction today. Another teacher said worriedly. Sima Yue had directly chased the 4th prince away, which meant that the academy had completely fallen out with the other party. No matter if Teacher Yue helped us or not, we'll definitely fall out with them today. Teacher Chen said, look at the people he brought. No matter what we do today, they'll still take action. If we dare to attack the 4th prince, those people will use this as an excuse to attack the academy. The reason why they chose to do it today was because they thought that if they could affect the new students during the battle, the families behind them might also find trouble with us. When that time comes, we'll be surrounded by enemies. I know, there's nothing to worry about. There'll be a way to solve this. Organize them to continue with the new student selection. Teacher Yue and I will go and talk to the dean about this. After Teacher Chun finished speaking, he handed over the new student selection to the other teachers and left with Sima Yue. After they left, the little fellows who were queuing up were all excited. Just now, Sima Yue was too handsome. That celestial aura around her made people's hearts beat faster. That action of hers made people worship her. Everyone's hearts were about to fly to her. Teacher, is that teacher from the academy? Does he know how to teach the new students? Someone shouted. That's a teacher from the alchemy faculty. He said that he's here to teach the new students. All of you, line up properly. If you want to learn alchemy, you'll need to be able to cultivate and have the talent to become an alchemist. All right, stand properly. Come, the first one. Sima Yue and Teacher Chen entered the academy and hurriedly walked towards the dean's office. When they arrived, they found out that the building where the dean and the others were working was covered by a barrier. When they arrived, the barrier had just been lifted. Seeing that Teacher Chun was injured, the dean and the others were extremely shocked. After asking, they found out what happened at the entrance of the academy. I was wondering why those old fellows would come and find us at this time. They even used the excuse that the conversation was confidential to isolate us from the outside world. So this was their plan, Dong Li said angrily. They delayed us here and let the fourth prince come out. By the time we left, both sides had already shed all pretense of cordiality. Luckily, you helped us today. Thank you so much. The old dean said gratefully. I'm now a part of the academy. You don't have to be so polite. Sima Yue replied politely. She helped to protect the academy, not because she had deep feelings for the academy, but because she had not found the contractor of the White Tiger. If the academy was gone before she found him, how could she find that little fellow? Dean, it seems like they can't hold it in anymore. A vice dean sighed. If we continue like this, I'm afraid that it will be difficult for us to survive in the cracks. Sima Yue was secretly shocked. The academy situation was already so serious. Chapter 2285. Dean, the fourth prince didn't succeed today. I wonder if they have any other plans? If they can't wait, we have to take action. The array master said. Yue, after what you did today, they won't do anything for now. The dean said, this will give us some time to prepare. That's right, we should do something. Dong Li agreed. Do you need me to do anything? Sima Yue asked. For what they said, they had planned something, but they didn't put it into action. Since he had borrowed their territory, he should at least do something for them. You don't have to do anything. Your existence is the most beneficial thing for us. The dean said. With her around, those people wouldn't dare to touch the academy. It was a pity that she couldn't stay in the academy forever. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to do anything. Even if she stood there, they wouldn't dare to provoke her. If that's the case, you guys can discuss. I'll go back first. Sima Yue nodded at them and left. Dean, why don't you let her join in? Someone asked. She said that she's looking for someone here. Once she finds him, she'll leave. This period of time can be long or short. If we rely on her too much, what will we do when she leaves? The dean said earnestly, we still have to rely on our own strength. Right now, the fight between the first prince and the fourth prince for the throne has reached a stage where it is in full swing, and those powers have already taken sides. But the first prince and the fourth prince aren't benevolent. No matter who takes the throne, the other side and those who are neutral will be eliminated. Dong Li said, so we can't let them take the throne. But the other princes are mediocre. They're weak and don't have any power behind them. It won't be easy for us to support one of them. Even if it's not easy, we have to do it. We can't wait for the first prince or the fourth prince to take the throne. The dean said, Dean, how's the investigation going? During this period of time, I've investigated the second prince, the third prince, and the fifth prince. The second prince secretly supports the first prince and has a vicious personality. The third prince doesn't rely on any side. He's weak and his cultivation talent is mediocre. As for the fifth prince, on the surface, he seemed to have no interest in the throne, but in reality, he was secretly accumulating his strength. Moreover, his benevolence and righteousness are just on the surface. President, these three princes sighed. Although they didn't want to stand on the side of the first prince and the fourth prince, the remaining three princes were too weak. They couldn't even choose a better one among the shorter ones. The old dean closed his eyes and thought for a while, then said, we have another candidate. Who? Sixth prince. Sixth prince? He has been guarding the imperial mausoleum all this time. He is really poor and has no power by his side. If we want to promote him to the throne, it will be more difficult than the other three princes. We need to protect ourselves now, but we can't forget our roots. The Breeze Academy supports a wise ruler. Since the other princes are unable to do so, we can only place our hopes on the sixth prince. What about the sixth prince? He's been in the imperial mausoleum for so many years, we don't know how he's doing now. I've seen him before. This child has a kind and benevolent heart, but he also has courage and a firm heart. If he hadn't been punished to the Imperial Mausoleum for those matters, and had his resources cut off, I'm afraid that the power by his side would not lose to the first prince and the fourth prince. The old dean said, He came back once 2 years ago and entrusted the seventh prince to our care. He and the seventh prince are not blood brothers, but he was able to provide a safe environment for the seventh prince under these circumstances. It is indeed not bad. I'll go look for him personally in a while. Everything else will proceed as planned. The old dean said, Yes. Everyone stood up and replied, All right, you may all leave. Dong Li, you stay. The other teachers left, and Dong Li returned to her seat. Is the seventh prince still unable to cultivate? The old dean asked. Yes, he's already 16 this year, but his temperament is like that of a 6 or 7-year-old. It's no different from when he first came to the academy. Dong Li replied. The other princes all started cultivating at the age of 8 or 9. I'm afraid the seventh prince, if he still couldn't cultivate at the age of 16, wouldn't he be a good-for-nothing? He likes you and only wants to be close to you. Then you have to put in more effort. If the sixth prince can ascend to the throne, the seventh prince's life won't be bad in the future. If not, we could just raise him alone. We can still afford to raise him. The old dean said, The seventh prince doesn't like me. He just likes the smell of the herbs. Dong Li felt a little helpless when she thought of the seventh prince. He clearly couldn't cultivate, but he was very interested in alchemy. Seeing his childish eyes, she didn't want to discourage him. After Sima Yue left the dean's office, she returned to her own courtyard. When she passed by Dong Li's courtyard, she saw a young man dressed in black leaning against the wall and looking inside. Although Dong Li had a cute round face, he wasn't usually cheerful. In contrast, he was quite strict with the students. The students were all afraid of him. Now, someone actually dared to climb his courtyard wall. It was a little strange. That person was leaning against the wall. He couldn't go up or down. He just hung in the air. However, he didn't care. He stretched his neck to look into the courtyard. No one knew what he was looking for. Suddenly, his hand didn't support the wall. His whole body fell forward and then fell back. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Hiss! The young man climbed up from the ground and reached out to touch his buttocks. The way he grimaced made Sima Yue smile. Seeing that he still wanted to climb the wall, she said, You're looking for Dong Li? He's not here now. The young man was shocked. He turned around with panic in his eyes, like a frightened deer. Sima Yue couldn't help but praise those clean eyes. When did you get here? The young man blinked his eyes, trying to make himself look less panicked. Sima Yue pointed at the wall and said with a smile, I was already here when you were still there. Then didn't you see everything? The young man's face turned red. He looked left and right, as if he had done something wrong. Yes, I saw everything. Are you looking for Dong Li? Sima Yue asked. Yes, I'm looking for him. In the classroom, he's not here. I came over to take a look. The young man stared at her. Do you know where he is? Sima Yue noticed that the way he spoke was a little special. Looking at his slow movements, she instantly understood that he was a child who hadn't developed mentally yet. She slowed down and said, He's discussing something with the dean. Why are you looking for him? Chapter 2286. The youth pursed his lips and hesitantly stared at her for a while. Then, he turned around and ran away. Sima Yue watched him run away. She didn't stop him and left with a smile. How could there be such a child in the academy? He wasn't intelligent and didn't have any spiritual power, yet he ran around. Sima Yue suddenly stopped in her tracks. No spiritual power, no spiritual power. In the entire academy, even the new students had already started cultivating. This youth was probably the only one who didn't know how to cultivate. Wasn't that the person she was looking for? It couldn't be. Could it be that White Tiger's contractor was someone who wasn't intelligent? How was she going to teach someone like him how to cultivate? She turned around and looked in the direction the youth left. After hesitating for a while, she still left. She decided to go back and ask Dong Li about this youth situation. She didn't see Dong Li or that youth for 2 or 3 days. She didn't have the chance to ask. After a few days, she went to class. This was the first time in her life that she went to class. Looking at the young faces below, she suddenly felt that she was old. She didn't know if Feng Zhixing had the same feeling when he saw her. When the students saw her, they were all extremely excited. Some of them saw what happened on the day of the new student selection. Some of them heard about it from others. No matter what they saw or heard, they were all extremely curious about her. Knowing that Sima Yue was teaching new students, the students from other grades were all extremely envious. Such a beautiful and fairy-like girl was their teacher. How fortunate! Hello, everyone. I'm your alchemy teacher, Sima Yue. From today onwards, I'll be teaching you how to refine pills. Before class starts, let me understand your situation. How many of you know how to refine pills? Almost everyone raised their hands. And since they all knew how to refine pills, it would be much easier to teach them later on. Since you all know how to refine pills, I don't need to repeat the 3 steps of refining pills. Now, come out one by one and refine 2 medicinal ingredients. The alchemy teacher's classroom was not like a normal classroom. The tables and chairs were placed in a circle against the wall. There was a pill furnace in front of the classroom, and the medicinal ingredients were placed in front of it. After she finished speaking, she went to the side and took out a chair to sit down. She watched the students refine the medicinal ingredients one by one. Each student refined 2 medicinal ingredients. It didn't matter if they succeeded or not, or how pure they were. With more than 30 students, half a day passed. Some people were able to refine it with high purity, and some even failed twice. Those who succeeded were naturally happy, while those who failed were a little embarrassed. Sima Yue sat on the chair and looked around. She took in everyone's expressions and said, "That's all for the morning class. In the afternoon, we'll start learning how to refine." Teacher Yue, since we already know how to refine, why do we still need to learn? Those who don't know how to refine, just let them practice on their own. There's no need to drag down everyone's progress, right? A woman stood up and said. Sima Yue glanced at her. She was the best out of all of them. This girl must have been carefully nurtured by a large family. Regardless of technique or purity, she was much better than the other students. At the same time, his sense of superiority was much stronger than others. You've refined 50% of the essence, which is very impressive for your age. However, there were still some things that needed attention. What your master and I said will be slightly different. Listen to it again. Maybe there will be other effects. Sima Yue said, "Of course, I'm more open-minded. If you're willing to come to class, then come. If you're not willing to listen, you can go to the alchemy room to practice. However, if you're not in class, you won't know what I said in class. If you ask me after class, I won't answer you." Hearing her words, a few of them smiled. They were already good at refining. They came to the school to learn more and not to refine such basic knowledge. Now that she was around, they could openly not come to class. The woman who spoke was disdainful when she heard her words. She didn't know why her family sent her to the school. Her master had already reached level 9 in refining. Wouldn't it be better for her to learn from her master and her family? Why did she have to come here and waste her time with these people? Her master said that she was already very good at refining. What she needed now was practice, not theoretical knowledge. Therefore, it didn't matter whether she listened or not. Moreover, this teacher was so young. How could she be better than her master? Sima Yue saw that the woman was not convinced. Although she was talented, she didn't have a good personality. Since she was her student, she would teach her properly. This way, she wouldn't waste her talent. Moreover, if she didn't show her skills, these students wouldn't know how good their teacher was. "Come here." She called the woman over and took out 2 types of herbs. She lit the fire in the alchemy furnace and followed the woman's steps and movements to refine 2 portions of the same essence. "Wow, teacher, you're so good." All the students were shocked. She had only seen them refine it once, but she was able to remember their refining method. She was too strong. That lady was even more surprised because her master had said before that their method of refining was not common and was very complicated. Sima Yue had only seen it once and knew it. Furthermore, she had even remembered the heat and time that she had used. Even her master would not be able to do that. Sima Yue didn't say much. She took out 2 portions of the same herbs and used the same method to refine them again. However, this time, she made some changes. The purity of the refined essence increased by 3 levels and reached 80%. She placed the 2 portions of essence on the table and said, "Refining is the most basic part of refining pills. However, it is also the most important part. If you want to build a skyscraper, the more solid the foundation, the better. You may be better than others here, but there will always be someone better than you. If you have talent, you should focus on learning so that you don't disappoint the heavens." The few students who had been complacent just a moment ago all blushed in shame. "Teacher, can you use your own method to refine this herb?" A student asked. "Of course I can." She took out 2 more portions of herbs and used her own refining methods to refine them. She placed them on the table and left after announcing the end of class. In the classroom, no one left. They looked at the essence that Sima Yue refined and were shocked. "This purity is almost 100%. Teacher is right. We don't have anything to be proud of in heaven beyond heaven. We actually have such a good teacher. We must work harder in the future." Sima Yue didn't care about the students' reactions. She walked out of the classroom and looked at the other classroom. She saw the young man in black again. When the young man saw her, he was stunned for a moment before running away. Chapter 2287. When Sima Yue went to class in the afternoon, none of the students skipped class. They were all obediently waiting for her in the classroom. When they saw her enter, their gazes were even hotter than in the morning. Previously, they had only heard about what she did during the selection of new students. They only idolized her. After what happened in the morning, they had already prostrated themselves before her and idolized her to the core. Furthermore, after that, no one refuted what Sima Yue said. What made them the happiest was that Sima Yue's lectures were concise and comprehensive, lively and interesting. Her suggestions were also straight to the point. This made them enjoy such a boring class. During the time that Sima Yue taught them, everyone had improved greatly. After she finished explaining the theory, Sima Yue brought them to the alchemy classroom. She let them use their points to exchange for the same herbs and let them practice alchemy on their own. Sima Yue would patrol the classroom while they were practicing. She would guide them one by one and point out their shortcomings in practice. If someone failed, she would not blame them. Instead, she would encourage them to try again. If someone's furnace exploded, regardless of whether she was there or not, she would be able to set up a protective circle around the student. This would reduce the student's risk of getting injured. Thus, with her around, the students were able to relax and try many things that they did not dare to try before. This greatly broadened their path of alchemy. The other students also knew that her lectures were good and many of them came to listen in. Sima Yue did not object to it, as long as it did not affect the other teachers' classes. On this day, she brought the students to the alchemy room to practice alchemy. Suddenly, she saw a figure appear by the window of the alchemy room. He was lying on the windowsill, quietly watching the students in the classroom practice alchemy. He was so focused on them that he did not even notice her walking beside him. "You like alchemy?" she asked. The young man was shocked and wanted to run away. However, Sima Yue grabbed his arm. "Don't you want to watch them practice alchemy?" she asked. "I can bring you to the classroom." The young man turned around and stared at her. Indeed, she did not mock him like the other teachers. Instead, she seriously said that she would bring him to the classroom. His struggling body gradually stopped. "Let's go. I'll bring you in." Sima Yue held his hand and led him to the classroom. Everyone in the classroom looked at him curiously when they saw him. "He's just a student who's here to visit. You don't have to care about him. Just continue refining your pills and pretend that he doesn't exist," Sima Yue said. The students were only curious for a moment. For someone who had nothing to do with this, they felt that their own alchemy was more important. Very quickly, they returned their attention to the pill furnace. Sima Yue stood at the front of the classroom with a young man beside her. He looked at everyone excitedly. "What's your name?" Sima Yue asked softly, afraid that she would scare him again. "Yuxing. My name is Mo Yuxing." After the young man finished speaking, He turned his head and smiled at her. Mo Yushing was actually given such a name by a man. However, it suited him quite well. His eyes were as clean as the rain. Do you like watching people concoct pills? She asked again. And Mo Yushing nodded his head vigorously. Dongli is only for me to watch. I'm not allowed to do anything else. So after not seeing Dongli for a few days, you went to his courtyard? I wanted to see if he was around. Mo Yushing's white face was slightly red. It seemed that he knew how to be shy. Teacher Dong, Li has something to do recently. He's not in the academy. His classes have been taken over by others. Sima Yue explained. I know. I haven't seen him in a few days. Mo Yushing said. What a smart child. Sima Yue praised. Although Mo Yushing's body was that of a 16-year-old, and he was slightly taller than her, his pure smile and bright eyes made people unconsciously treat him as a child. Hearing her praise, Mo Yushing smiled even more brightly. Where do you usually stay? Sima Yue enticed him step by step, and it was to deepen their impression of each other. In the small garden. Where's the small garden? In the big garden. Where's the big garden? Where's the big garden? I don't know. Sima Yue face-bombed. Why was she being led to a ditch by him? Do you live alone? Or with others? I'm alone. Mother said that I've already grown up. I have to do my own things and live alone. If I'm obedient now, Mother will wake up. Mo Yushing's childish voice was very serious. However, it made Sima Yue sad. Do you want to move to my courtyard? You could see a lot of medicinal ingredients there. You can also come to class with me. This way, you won't miss their alchemy classes. No. Mo Yushing shook his head. I live alone. Even if you move to my place, you'll still live alone. You have your own room, and you have to do your own things. I won't help you. Sima Yue said, your life won't change. However, you can follow me to class and watch them refine pills. Sometimes, I'll refine pills at my place too. How about it? Do you want to go? Mo Yushing hesitated for a moment before nodding his head in the end. Sima Yue smiled and said, then after class, I'll go with you to move things. Okay. After confirming this matter, Mo Yushing focused on watching them refine pills. Sima Yue did not disturb him and went to watch the students refine pills one by one. She also gave him some pointers. After walking one round, Mo Yushing was no longer in front of the classroom. Sima Yue was stunned for a moment before she saw him running in front of a student. He was so excited that he was dancing with joy. Sima Yue went over and pulled him away, saying, we can't disturb him. So the pills were about to be formed. No wonder he was so excited. It seemed that he was very familiar with alchemy. But how was that possible? He was a person who could not cultivate and could not refine pills. How could he sense the situation of the pills in the furnace and know that they were about to be formed? She looked at him suspiciously, but he only stared at the furnace. When they lived together in the future, she would have time to understand him. The contractor of the White Tiger should not be a simple person. Thinking about the White Tiger, Sima Yue frowned slightly. Out of the 4 great divine beasts, why was it the only one whose aura was covered by the heavenly Tao? Even the black tortoise's shell could not be calculated. Even its contracted beast was so special. After that, she gave some pointers to the students. When they finished refining pills, the class would end. She pulled on Mo Yushing's sleeve and said, let's go and move things. Okay. An hour later, Sima Yue successfully abducted a certain someone to stay in her courtyard. Chapter 2288. Mo Yusheng stood in Xiao Emo's courtyard and sized up the small courtyard. You'll be living in that room from now on. Sima Yue pointed at the room beside hers. There were only 2 rooms here. Mo Yusheng walked straight to the herbs that were drying in the courtyard. I've never seen these herbs before. He turned his head and looked at Sima Yue excitedly. Just these few herbs made him feel that moving here was a good decision. Sima Yue walked over and squatted down beside him, saying, do you like herbs a lot? And it smells very good. Mo Yusheng said with a smile. Yusheng, when did you start to like the smell of herbs? Mo Yusheng tilted his head and thought for a while, saying, I don't know when it started, but when I smell it, I feel very comfortable and happy. You watch those students refine pills every day. Do you want to do it yourself? I can't. And Mo Yusheng pouted and said with a bit of disappointment, They said that I can't cultivate and that I can't become an alchemist in this lifetime. Who said that? Yusheng. You can definitely become an alchemist. Sima Yue reached out and patted his head. Believe me, you can do it. Really? And Mo Yusheng looked at Sima Yue and saw the certainty in her eyes. His disappointment disappeared, and a pure smile climbed onto his face. Sima Yue nodded and thought to herself, You're the White Tiger's contractor. How can you not cultivate? And Mo Yusheng looked around, and after confirming that there was no one around, he moved his head to Sima Yue's side and said, Let me tell you something, but don't tell anyone else. Sima Yue saw that he was serious and smiled as she agreed. Let me tell you, I often think that I'm an alchemist. And Mo Yusheng said, When I watch those people refine pills, I think that if I were to refine pills, I would do something. It's a pity that I don't have any spiritual energy, otherwise I could try out my ideas. How could a child's mind be so familiar with alchemy? Did that mean that there was another soul living in his body? Or did he have memories that did not belong to him since he was young? Sima Yue was shocked, but a smile appeared on her face. When you can cultivate, you can try out your idea. Who knows? Maybe what you think is right. I knew you wouldn't laugh at me. I didn't even say this to Dong Li. Mou's voice was like a child who had been praised, dancing with joy. In the past 2 days, she had already found out about Mo Yusheng. She knew that he was the 7th prince of this country, but could only live in the academy. She knew that he stuck to Dong Li, but avoided others like a ferocious beast. Now that he was telling her the words that he had never said to Dong Li, did that mean that she was closer to him than Dong Li in his heart? This could be considered a big step forward. Why would I laugh at you? This might be your talent in alchemy. As for not being able to cultivate, it doesn't matter. If I were you, I would have started cultivating when I was your age. Before this, I was called trash. Sima Yue encouraged. Really? Mo Yusheng didn't believe it. Although he was very stupid, he could tell that she was very powerful. Why would I lie to you? In the past, Sima Yue said some things about the original host not being able to cultivate when she was young, making Mo Yusheng dumbstruck. So you were the same as me in the past. He exclaimed, That's right. If you don't recognize me as your master, I can find a way for you to cultivate. As long as you can cultivate, you can become an alchemist. This way, your ideas can be realized. Don't you think so? Mo Yusheng hesitated and hesitated again. If you recognize me as your master, I have many more precious herbs for you. In the future, I can give you all the herbs you need to refine pills. How about it? Sima Yue looked at him with a smile. She wasn't afraid that he wouldn't be moved. Seeing Mo Yusheng's hesitation and his eyes becoming brighter after hearing her promise, she suddenly felt like she was a strange uncle trying to lure a child. All right, I'll recognize you as my master. Mo Yusheng was finally brainwashed by her conditions. Where are the herbs? Where are the herbs? Let me take a look. Don't be anxious. Since it's recognizing a master, there should be some procedures. Sima Yue said. Mo Yusheng was a bit impatient as he pouted and stared at her, expressing his dissatisfaction. Sima Yue facepalmed. Taking in such a disciple really made her heart tired. I won't go through the other procedures, but you should at least let your master drink the tea, right? Mo Yusheng stared at her, tilted his head, and thought for a moment. Then, he ran into the kitchen, found a bowl, filled it with water, and brought it out. Then, with a bang, he knelt in front of her, raised the bowl over his head, and said, Master, please drink this tea. Sima Yue looked at his serious expression and told herself that this was already not bad. She took the big bowl and drank a mouthful of the cold water inside. Then, she threw the bowl into her spirit pagoda. What a shabby ceremony. This is Master's gift for you to play with. When you wake up one day, Master will give you a proper Master's gift. Sima Yue took out a few medicinal ingredients and gave them to Mo Yusheng. She also pulled them up from the ground. When Mo Yusheng saw those herbs, he treasured them greatly and took them back to his room. Sima Yue thought about how his room had not been decorated yet. Everything was in her spatial ring, So she resigned to her fate and went to decorate his room. In a house not far from the academy, Fushi and Black Tortoise were playing chess. Luo Zi's hand paused, and he smiled. Master and disciple. It seems like Yue has found the contractor of White Tiger. I just don't know what kind of person he is. Since she has found him, she will definitely bring him over for us to see. Black Tortoise was not curious at all. If the timing was not right, he would like to see Sima Yoyue's bitter expression. However, at this point in time, he couldn't bring himself to laugh. To find someone in the academy who did not know how to cultivate, other than trash, what else could he be? Thinking about White Tiger, the two of them could not help but sigh. They thought that he was trash, but when they saw Mo Yusheng, they knew that there was no such thing as the worst, only worse. He is your little disciple? Fushi wanted to cry, but had no tears. Azure Dragon, you are also a divinator now. Did she find the wrong person? Black Tortoise looked at Mo Yusheng's pure eyes and could not bear to look at him. Sima Yue was also helpless. I also want Fushi to see if I found the wrong person. Yesterday, after accepting Mo Yusheng, he had been studying those herbs. She wanted to let Fushi and Black Tortoise take a look first, so she brought people over. Looking at him now, he had clearly said the answer. Chapter 2289. The group of people looked at Mo Yusheng, who was foolishly looking at the herbs in the courtyard, and felt helpless. Not only is this White Tiger's contractor unable to cultivate, his intelligence is also stuck at a few years old. Yue, are you sure you can guide him to cultivate? When she looked at Sima Yue pitifully, Sima Yue sighed and said, We have to, even if we can't, we don't have any other choice. However, I don't think Yusheng is that simple. What did you discover? Bai Xiaofei asked. At this moment, he was not as cold as the first time they met. It was probably the happy life after marriage that chased away the coldness in his heart. He likes to refine pills and herbs. Not only that, he is very sensitive towards refining pills. He clearly has no spiritual energy, but he can feel others condensing pills. He is also very familiar with herbs. Sima Yue said, not to mention a person with an incomplete mind who cannot cultivate. Even an ordinary alchemist would not be able to do this. You're saying that he might be like you, reincarnated in a corpse? Black Tortoise exclaimed. Sima Yue did not expect Black Tortoise to be able to calculate this. It seemed like they knew about her background. She nodded and said, I'm just guessing. I'm not sure. I can only say that he has secrets on him. And maybe these secrets are the reason why his mind is incomplete. Fushi said, We can't help you with these things. You can only find out by yourself. I'll have to trouble you. If there's nothing else, I'll bring him back. When we go back, we'll see if we can find a reason why he cannot cultivate. Sima Yue finished speaking and left. Mo Yusheng was sitting in the courtyard, looking and smelling the herbs that Sima Yue gave him. When he saw Sima Yue come out, he stood up and ran over happily, saying, Master, there's a very dense energy in here. Sima Yue looked at the herbs in his hands. She was very familiar with them. They could be used to refine 9th grade pills. Their grades were relatively high, but why didn't she feel any energy? Master? When Mo Yusheng saw Sima Yue staring at the herbs, he stuffed the herbs into her hands and looked at her happily. Every time she looked into his eyes, Sima Yue could not bear to reject him. She rubbed his head and said, The sound of the rain is really powerful. You can even sense the power within the medicinal ingredients. Mo Yusheng laughed even more happily after being praised. Let's go back to the academy. Sima Yue returned the herbs to him. Let's go back and study what this power is, okay? All right. Mo Yusheng nodded. Sima Yue turned around to look at the others before leaving with Mo Yusheng. Yue is really patient with him. Luckily, Ling Yu has returned to the Devil Realm. Otherwise, the vinegar that he brewed would drown us. Black Tortoise said regretfully, as if he didn't see the show. Fushi rolled his eyes at him and left. He couldn't be bothered with this disrespectful old man. When Sima Yue brought Mo Yusheng back to the academy, she saw another black, clothed youth at the entrance of her courtyard. The youth stood at the entrance with his hands behind his back and looked at the small courtyard. When he heard movement behind him, he turned around to look at Sima Yuyue and Mo Yuxing. Seeing Mo Yuxing holding Sima Yuyue's sleeve, the youth's eyes flashed. He actually trusted someone so much. Mo Yuxing saw the black-clothed youth and excitedly let go of Sima Yuyue's sleeve. He ran over and hugged him, saying, "Sixth brother, you're back to see Yuxing." Mo Yuxing patted Mo Yuxing's back and said, "And Father summoned me back, so I came to see you. Have you been happy during this period of time?" Yuxing is very happy every day. Mo Yuxing let him go and pulled him in front of Sima Yuyue, saying, "Sixth brother, this is my master. Master, sixth brother is here to see me." Sima Yue looked at this youth who was about the same age as Mo Yuxing. He wore the same clothes and had a similar face, but this youth seemed to have a maturity that surpassed his peers. Mo Yuxing looked at Sima Yuyue and then bowed, saying, "Thank you for taking care of Yuxing." "You are Mo Yuxing?" Sima Yue asked. "Yes. I heard that you have been guarding the imperial tomb." "Yes. You're not going back this time, right?" "Yes." Sima Yue nodded and said, "Since you're here, then go in and sit. I also have some things I want to ask you." Mo Yuxing seemed to know what Sima Yue wanted to ask and followed her into the courtyard. "Sixth brother, let me tell you, my master is very strong. She is even better at refining pills than Dong Li. Moreover, she also has a lot of medicinal herbs, all of which smell very comfortable. Sixth brother, master is very good to me. She is as gentle as mother and never fears. Sixth brother, let me tell you secretly, master won't stay here for long. If master leaves, what if I can't bear to part with her?" Mo Yuxing had been listening to Mo Yuxing talk with a smile. Hearing this, he asked, "How do you know?" "I just know." Mo Yuxing pouted and said, "Master has immortal energy on her body. How can a fairy with immortal energy stay here for long?" "You can see immortal energy from Yuxing? Then see if your brother has immortal energy on him." Mo Yuxing smiled. "It's true. Sixth brother, you don't believe me. I believe you. I believe everything Yuxing says." Hee. Sima Yue heard Mo Yuxing's words and laughed silently. "Yuxing, bring your sixth brother inside to talk. I'll go prepare some food for you guys." At this time, there was no food in the school. Sima Yue could not eat, but Mo Yuxing could not. She could only personally cook. "Sixth brother, let me tell you, master's food is very delicious. I ate it last night. It's better than anything I've eaten before." Mo Yuxing found a stool and sat down. Mo Yuxing moved a stool to his side and reached out to pull on his sleeve. Mo Yuxing saw his hand pulling on his sleeve and thought of how he pulled on Sima Yuyue's sleeve. Sima Yue finished cooking and let the two eat while she returned to her room. When Mo Yuxing knocked on the door, it was already late at night. "Come in." Mo Yuxing heard the response from inside and pushed the door open. What he saw was a beauty leisurely reading under the light. "He's asleep?" Sima Yue raised her head and asked. Mo Yuxing nodded and walked over. He sat opposite her and said, "I didn't expect Yuxing to have another master. Yuxing likes you a lot. I can see that he's very happy after meeting you." "Yuxing is a simple child," Sima Yue said. "You don't have to worry that I'll hurt him, but you do have other motives for him, don't you?" Chapter 2290. Sima Yue stared at him. He stared back at her without a trace of fear in his eyes. "Even if I do have ulterior motives, what will you do?" She smiled. "I want to know, what do you want him to do?" Mo Yue asked. His mind is still that of a child, and he doesn't know how to cultivate. He's just a useless person to you. If you want to use his identity as a prince, I should be more suitable than him. What if you lose your life because of this? Sima Yue asked. Mo Yue looked at Sima Yue. Her smile was so gentle, but she could easily say that someone would lose their life. She was like a poppy flower. It was so beautiful, but made people feel cold. As long as Yuxing can be safe. Even if you want my life, so what? He said calmly, but firmly. If she really wanted his life in exchange for Yushing's, he would definitely not hesitate. Sima Yue stared at his serious expression and smiled, saying, "It's good that he has a brother like you. I didn't come because of his identity as a prince, but don't worry, I won't take his life. He has responsibilities that he should shoulder. I'm only here to let him shoulder them." Mo Yulai was shocked by her words, but quickly accepted it, saying, as expected, "You know that he's not ordinary, right?" Sima Yue asked. Mo Yulai nodded. "It seems like you've noticed." Sima Yue said, "What's the matter with him with medicinal ingredients?" Mo Yulai hesitated for a while, saying, "I don't know either. I only know that he's been obsessed with medicinal ingredients since he was young. He's very obedient when he's with medicinal ingredients. That's all." Mo Yulai nodded. His imperial mother said that when he was born, the sky was filled with light. Imperial father was very happy because of this, but later on he found that his mind was stuck at a few years old, so he drifted away. Later on, his imperial mother died, and I went to guard the imperial mausoleum. His days in the palace were not good. I thought of a way to get imperial father to allow him to live here. I don't know much else. Everyone says that the imperial family is heartless. Why are you so good to Yushing? My life was not given birth by his mother, but it was given to me by his mother. Now that she's gone, I naturally have to take good care of him. Mo Yulai didn't elaborate, but Sima Yue guessed. They have good taste. Sima Yue praised them out of the blue. She had already guessed why Mo Yulai came back. As long as one combined the new student selection with the academy situation, one would be able to understand the thoughts of the dean and the others. This Mo Yulai was indeed much better than the fourth prince, Mo Yushir. Although it would be difficult to choose a prince with no power or influence, it was their last choice. Mo Yulai looked at her and said, "Can you tell me what you want Yushing to do? What is his mission?" The mission on his shoulders is naturally the lives and future of all living beings in the world. Sima Yue said. Seeing him frown, she explained, "I'm not talking about the people in your country, but the whole world, including your country, your continent, and all the other continents." Mo Yulai never knew that there were other continents outside of this one, but when she said this, he seemed to see a grand world. Wanyan continent was only a very small part of it. "Did you come from outside?" he asked. "Yes. I came to this continent for Yushing." "How long will you stay here?" "It depends on Yushing's situation. When he can shoulder the responsibility, I will complete my mission." Sima Yue didn't know either, but she felt that it wouldn't be short. "When you leave, will Yushing also leave?" "Yes." Sima Yue didn't hide it from him. Once Mo Yulai formed a contract with the White Tiger and woke it up, it would be considered a success. At that time, it would be time for the 4 divine beasts and the 4 ferocious beasts to settle the score. As the White Tiger's contracted beast, Mo Yulai naturally had to leave with it. She thought about what Black Tortoise and the others said. The White Tiger's injuries had already healed, but it was still sleeping. Only Mo Yulai's contract could wake it up. If Mo Yulai formed a contract early, then he wouldn't have the strength. When the time came, would he only be able to watch from the back? If they had to wait for him to become stronger before they could form a contract, then wouldn't they have to wait for a few hundred years? Sigh, what a headache. Mo Yulai didn't know about the countless twists and turns in her heart. He was still digesting the news that Mo Yulai was shouldering the world. The two of them were silent for a while. "Sixth brother, why are you here with Master?" Mo Yulai appeared at the door, still rubbing his sleepy eyes. "Aren't you going to sleep with Yushing?" "Sixth brother is here to chat with your master. I want to see if you are obedient here." Mo Yulai stood up and said to Sima Yue, "Thank you for your explanation. It's too late. I'll go over first." "Wait a moment." Sima Yue came to his side and tapped his forehead, saying, "You and I are fated. During the time I was in Wanyan continent, I protected you. It would be a pity if such a good seedling died prematurely. More importantly, Clear Wind Academy would only be stable if he got up. When the academy was stable, she and Mo Yulai would have a better environment. If Mo Yulai died, it would be a blow to Mo Yulai. Mo Yulai only saw her tap lightly and a faint figure appeared in his sea of consciousness, looking at her suspiciously. That's my soul imprint. During the time I was in Wan Yin continent, when your life was in danger, she would protect you. I would also sense it. Sima Yue said, "All right, you guys go back and rest." And Mo Yulai was a little excited. When he agreed to the principal's request, it meant that his life would be in danger at any time. Although he was fearless, he didn't want to die for nothing and let those people succeed. Now that he had her soul imprint, his life would be safe for the time being. He bowed to her and then went to the door. He pulled Mo Yulai's hand and said, "Let's go back and rest." "All right, Master, you should sleep early too." Mo Yulai didn't forget to remind Sima Yue. Sima Yue waited for the two of them to leave before taking out a medicinal ingredient. This was the same medicinal ingredient that Mo Yulai said had power. She turned it over and over for a while, but still couldn't find any power. The next morning, Mo Yulai and Mo Yulai bid farewell. Sima Yue had already made breakfast. "You're going back to the palace? Eat breakfast before you leave." Sima Yue sat down and started eating. Mo Yulai and Mo Yulai came over, and the three of them ate breakfast together. As he drank the warm porridge, he felt that his heart, which had been cold for a long time, was also warm. He finally understood why Mo Yulai, who was always on guard against others, liked her so much. Chapter 2291. Mo Yulai left the small courtyard after eating breakfast and went to find the dean to discuss some matters. Before entering the palace, they had to make some preparations. Mo Yuxing sent him to the entrance of the small courtyard and pulled on his sleeve, unwilling to let him go. He only let go after Mo Yulai promised that he would visit him often. His eyes turned red as he stared at Mo Yulai's back. Sima Yue looked at his back and sighed. "Yuxing, come here." Mo Yuxing came to Sima Yue's side. Sima Yue took out a handkerchief for him to wipe his tears. "Are you worried about your sixth brother?" she asked. Mo Yuxing nodded. "Sixth brother is in danger." "How do you know sixth brother is in danger?" she asked again. Mo Yulai definitely wouldn't tell Mo Yuxing those things, so he had guessed it himself. "Eldest brother and the others are very fierce. If sixth brother returns to the palace and doesn't leave, they will kill him." Mo Yuxing said. "Then do you want to protect your sixth brother?" Mo Yuxing fiercely nodded. "If you want to protect sixth brother, you have to become strong. If you want to become strong, you have to cultivate." Sima Yue said. Mo Yuxing lowered his head and said dejectedly, "I can't cultivate. I'm trash." "Who said you're trash? You just can't cultivate for now. Did you forget that Master couldn't cultivate before? As long as you find the reason why you can't cultivate and solve the problem, you'll be fine. Why don't you let Master examine you and see why you can't cultivate?" "All right." Mo Yuxing nodded and followed Sima Yue into the room. Sima Yue sent her divine sense into his body and found that there was nothing wrong with his body. He wasn't poisoned. His meridians weren't blocked. The reason she guessed before didn't exist. His body was a perfectly normal body. Sima Yue searched his body for a long time before giving up and leaving. "Master, did you find the reason?" Mo Yuxing asked. "Not yet." Sima Yue said, "Let's go to class first. We'll see if we can find out the reason when we come back. Okay?" "All right." Sima Yue brought him to the classroom. Today, she was going to introduce some herbs to the students. These herbs were all rare and had different growth environments, harvesting methods, preservation methods, and refining methods. When she was teaching, Mo Yuxing stayed quietly at the back of the classroom, looking a little unhappy. After class, Sima Yue brought him back. She gave him some herbs and asked him to dry them in the courtyard. She gave him the medicinal ingredients that she had mentioned today, and they had to be handled very carefully. Originally, she thought that Mo Yuxing was absent-minded during class and wouldn't be able to handle them well. She didn't expect that he would be able to handle each of the medicinal ingredients extremely well. After drying the herbs, he squatted beside them and stared at them in a daze. Sima Yue took out her soundstone and contacted Fushi and the others. She told them about Mo Yuxing's situation. Are you sure there's nothing wrong with his body? Fushi asked. I checked in the morning. There's nothing wrong with him. Sima Yue said, not only is there no problem, his innate talent should be very good as well. However, he just can't sense any spiritual energy, let alone guiding spiritual energy into his body to cultivate. Then this is troublesome. Black Tortoise sighed. If they could find out what was wrong with his body, they would be able to prescribe the right medicine and let him start cultivating. However, his body didn't have any problems. What should they do? Can you guys calculate? Even if there's some direction, it'll be good. Sima Yue asked. No, we've already tried. Regarding Mo Yuxing, other than the fact that she's your disciple, there's nothing else. How can this be? Sima Yue was extremely shocked. Actually, there's nothing strange about this. The heavenly Tao covered up the matter of the white tiger. Since Mo Yuxing is its contractor, it's normal for him to be covered up by the heavenly Tao. Black Tortoise said, there's also a possibility that it's because of him. He's a little strange, isn't he? If there's no reason, it wouldn't be like this. In short, it was just a sentence. They couldn't calculate anything. She could only rely on herself. Sima Yue broke the connection and kept the soundstone. She thought about Mo Yuxing's situation again, but she still couldn't think of a reason. She could only ask for help. Why did you call me here? The flamboyant throne appeared in the room, along with Ming's ugly face. I have something to ask you, Sima Yue said with a smile. I can't find anyone else now, so I can only look for you. Ming didn't know if it was because this sentence successfully pleased him, but his expression became better. He said, say it. What's the matter that you can't solve? Sima Yue told him about Mo Yuxing's situation. She didn't even mention the fact that Black Tortoise and the rest couldn't calculate anything about him. You're talking about that little child in the courtyard? Ming looked at Mo Yuxing, who was squatting on the ground. Yes. Help me take a look. Why can't he cultivate? Sima Yue looked at him expectantly. I really have to hand it to you. Ming glanced at her. With a wave of his hand, a black fog was released from his palm. It flew to Mo Yuxing's side and enveloped him. The other side was connected to his hand. Mo Yuxing, who was squatting in front of the herbs, didn't know what was going on. He only felt his body turn cold and fell to the ground. Sima Yue looked at Mo Yuxing worriedly, but she didn't go up to interrupt Ming. After 2 to 3 minutes, Ming retracted the black fog. How is it? Do you know the reason? Sima Yue asked. He's a cultivator undergoing tribulation. Ming said, people like him have something different from ordinary people. They have their own strength, so normal cultivation methods aren't suitable for them. Mo Yuxing is a cultivator undergoing tribulation? Sima Yue was shocked. Yes, so don't use normal methods to guide him. Instead, activate the strength in his body. How do I activate it? Their bodies don't feel any different. Their strength was only sealed by the heavenly Tao. It's not that they don't have it anymore. Ming looked at her as if she was stupid. Didn't you also have a period of time where your strength disappeared? Sima Yue recalled that when she first came out, her power was sealed by the heavenly Tao. It was only after she blocked the Ghost Clan's people in Fair Eastern City and attracted the lightning tribulation that she returned to normal after being ruthlessly struck. Therefore, Mo Yuxing needed a stimulation point. As long as that point was stimulated, he would be able to recover his strength. Don't ask me how to stimulate him. Every cultivator undergoing tribulation is different. You can figure out yourself. Ming rejected her silent request. Then, he sat on the throne and left. She was the only one who had the guts to ask someone like him to come and answer her questions. Chapter 2292. Dark left just like that and didn't give her any advice. However, she was already very satisfied with this harvest. At least she knew the reason. Now that she had a direction, she knew where to work hard. She walked to Mo Yuxing's side and carried him to his room. After placing him on the bed, she checked his body and injected some spiritual energy into his body, expelling all the dark energy that Dark left in his body. Mo Yushing felt as if his body had fallen into an ice cellar before he saw his master. His master gently patted his head, and he felt the coldness in his body dissipate. "Master," he muttered softly. Sima Yue covered him with a blanket. When she heard his voice, she smiled and got up to leave. She came to the side of the herbs that were drying in the courtyard and squatted down. She picked up a herb and looked at it repeatedly. Mo Yushing was a cultivator who was going through tribulation. Normal cultivation methods were useless to him. She had to find another way. What she could confirm now was that he definitely had something to do with pills. It was very likely that he was an alchemist, which was why he loved refining pills so much. Now, if she wanted to find a way to make him cultivate, it seemed like she could only start with pills or herbs. Suddenly, she remembered what Mo Yushing said yesterday. "Master, there's a very dense energy inside." She couldn't feel the energy inside the herbs, but he could. Didn't that mean that he could absorb the energy inside the herbs? When she thought of this possibility, she wanted to wake Mo Yushing up and let him try. However, when she thought of how he was injured by dark, she decided to let him rest and recover. Mo Yushing slept all the way until the next day. Sima Yue went to class and saw that he wasn't awake yet. She let little Seven and Hua Hua out to guard him while she went to class. When he woke up, he saw that there were two women by his bed. He struggled to sit up on the bed. "Who are you? Where did you hide my master?" He hugged his blanket tightly and trembled in fear. "Don't be afraid. We're your master's contracted beasts. We're here to protect you." Little Seven said, "Your master went to class. When he's done, you'll be able to see him." Little Seven's voice was very soft. Perhaps because she was a spiritual herb, Mo Yushing slowly let down his guard against her. However, he still curled up on the bed and didn't get down. Little Seven thought for a moment and took out a big radish that she had collected. She said, "This is for you to play with." When Mo Yushing saw the medicinal ingredients, he hesitated for a moment before slowly moving over and taking the medicinal ingredients from her hands. She said that she was his master's contracted beast, so she shouldn't be a bad person. And Mo Yushing thought so, and for the sake of the big radish, he decided to play with her for a while. "Yusheng, have you eaten herb before?" Little Seven asked. "No." And Mo Yushing shook his head. "How can medicinal ingredients be eaten? Why can't medicinal herbs be eaten?" Little Seven asked back. "You haven't eaten them before, have you?" And Mo Yushing tilted his head and thought about it. What she said seemed to make sense. You can feel the power in the herbs, right? I can also feel the power of the herbs. Little Seven said, "Really?" And Mo Yushing looked at Little Seven in surprise. Even his master could not see the power in the herbs, but she could. "It's those green things that look like water vapor, right?" Little Seven asked. Yes, that's right. You can really see it." And Mo Yushing was extremely excited and almost went up to hug Little Seven. "Don't be so excited, little fellow." Little Seven patted his shoulder and said seriously, "I've never met anyone who could see the power in the herbs before. Let's go outside and have a chat." Sure. And Mo Yushing nodded and carried the big radish out. Hua Hua saw Little Seven follow him out. The two of them were discussing in full swing in front of the herbs in the courtyard. She speechlessly took out a chair and sat at the side, playing with the flowers. The days were boring, so she could only play with flowers. Hua Hua covered her surroundings with flowers when she suddenly heard a miserable cry. She was so scared that the flower in her hand was thrown away before it even fully bloomed. "Ah, it hurts." Mo Yushing laid on the ground and rolled around, scratching his body nonstop. What's wrong with him? Wasn't he fine just now? Hua Hua jumped up from the chair. This Mo Yushing was a very important person. If something happened to him, how could the two of them face Yue? I only gave him a bite of the big radish. Who knew that he would suddenly become like this? Little Seven was also a bit panicked. "Let's quickly call Yue back," Hua Hua said and contacted Sima Yue through the contract. In the next second, Sima Yue appeared in the courtyard. "What happened to Yushing?" Sima Yue saw Mo Yushing rolling around on the ground and was very surprised. "I only gave him a bite of the big radish," Little Seven said. Sima Yue saw the herbs on the ground and did not have time to scold little Seven. She waved her hand and wrapped Mo Yushing with energy, temporarily relieving his pain. Mo Yushing woke up a bit and saw Sima Yue. He cried and said, "Master, I'm in pain. Don't be afraid. Master is here. You'll be fine." Sima Yue went up and hugged him. She carried him into the room and placed him on the bed. She checked his body and pulled open his clothes. She took out a few silver needles and poked his stomach a few times. After a few needles, Mo Yushing felt much better. However, he still felt a force rampaging in his body. Master, Yushing is in pain. His tears smeared his face, and his teary eyes looked very pitiful. Yushing, the force in your body is the force of the herbs that you feel. I can help you expel it. However, didn't you want to cultivate to protect your sixth brother? This is a chance for you to cultivate. As long as you can absorb that force into your dantian, you can cultivate in the future. Master, Yushing won't. No problem. I will help you guide that force. You just have to endure it. Sima Yue said, however, this process will be more painful. Can you endure it? For sixth brother, I can. Mo Yushing gritted his teeth. Then I'm going to start. Don't resist that force. Sima Yue said and started to control the force in his body to slowly move towards his dantian. Because it had to go through his meridians and let the spirit energy nourish them, her speed was not fast. Mo Yushing's body had never experienced this before. When the spirit energy passed through his meridians, he felt like he was going to explode. He bit his lips so hard that his lips were almost pierced through. His entire lips were dripping with blood. The pain in his body made him want to give up. However, when he thought of sixth brother's gaze on him, he had to endure it. Endure, endure. His eyes stared straight, and his eyeballs could not even turn. This made Sima Yue's heart ache. However, he could not give up now. Otherwise, all the pain he suffered before would have been wasted. Chapter 2293. Once Sima Yu had guided the energy to his dantian and calmed it down, she said that it was done, and Mo Yusheng immediately fainted. Sima Yue checked his body and made sure that he was fine before feeding him some pills to let him rest. Yu, I'm sorry. Little Seven lowered her head as she blamed herself. Today's matter was too dangerous. If it wasn't for Sima Yue coming back to control him, Mo Yusheng might have been crippled. If the four god beasts couldn't gather, the consequences would be unimaginable. You were a little rash today, but you had good intentions. Luckily, this matter turned out okay. I won't punish you. When Yusheng wakes up, you can apologize to him yourself. Sima Yue said. Oh, little Seven stood beside Mo Yusheng's bed, planning to wait for him to wake up. Sima Yue knew that she was blaming herself, so she didn't say much and went out with Hua. The first person Mo Yusheng saw when he woke up was little Seven. He blinked his eyes and then revealed a pure smile to little Seven. Little Seven, have you been watching over me? You're finally awake. How is it? Does your body still hurt? Little Seven asked. It hurts. Mo Yusheng answered honestly. Sorry, Yusheng. I shouldn't have let you eat the big radish. Little Seven apologized. It's okay, I ate it myself. Mo Yusheng didn't blame her. I think I saw Master before I fell asleep. Master even said that I could cultivate. You can cultivate, but you have to wait until your body recovers. Little Seven said. When you're better, I'll let you eat my essence, okay? Okay. Mo Yusheng didn't know what her essence was, but he knew that she was looking at him with a sad gaze. If this could make her feel less sad, then he would eat it. Sima Yue knew that he had woken up, so she opened the door and came to the bedside, asking, How do you feel? My entire body hurts. Mo Yusheng looked at Sima Yue pitifully, like a child who had been hurt and was crying to his mother. Sima Yue sat beside the bed and gave him a checkup. She then took out a pill and fed it to him, saying, Your meridians and muscles have been ruptured by your spirit energy. Although you've taken this pill, it will take some time to recover. Master, I'm hungry, Mo said. Little Seven laughed. If you know that you're hungry, then it means that your condition isn't bad. "I've made you some medicinal porridge. I'll bring it to you later." Sima Yu looked at him and thought of Wu Xiao Dao and Wu Qi Yao. They were the same age as him and liked to act coquettishly. She didn't know if they were well or not and whether they were injured. This was the effect of Sima Yue. Was the Yue during this period of time. She Yue was Yue. When Fuxi and the others found out that Mo Yuxing had his first strand of spirit energy, they were so excited that they almost ran to the school. During this time, Mo Yulai came to visit Mo Yuxing once. She didn't know what the two brothers were talking about, but when Mo Yulai came out, his eyes were red and his steps were heavy. Sima Yue watched him leave and felt that he was carrying a heavy burden. Today, Mo Yuxing got up early in the morning and rummaged through his room and courtyard. After a while, he ran over and said, "Master, where's my big radish?" "I'll put away." Sima Yue said, "Master, give it to me. I want to eat a bite." Mo Yuxing reached out his hand. "No." Sima Yue refused. "Why? Can't you cultivate after eating that?" Mo Yuxing was getting better at expressing himself. Sima Yue found that after being with her, his intelligence seemed to have increased by quite a bit. You only had your first strand of spirit energy after eating the herbs, but it's also very harmful to your body. We need to use a better method to cultivate and not this method, understand? Sima Yue explained patiently. "Then how do I cultivate?" Mo Yuxing asked obediently. "Can you feel the spirit energy in the air now?" Sima Yue asked. "What's the spirit energy in the air?" Sima Yue taught him how to meditate, but no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't feel the spirit energy in the air. Even if he used the spirit energy in his body, it was still the same. Sima Yue finally realized that Mo Yuxing really couldn't rely on this method to cultivate. She took out the big radish, cut a piece, and placed it in his palm. Then, she let him feel it, and he finally felt the energy fluctuation. Thus, she guided him to absorb the energy. As Mo Yuxing didn't know anything about cultivation and his intelligence was relatively low, it took her a lot of effort to teach him how to absorb the energy in the herbs. As he was still too weak and didn't know how to control himself, she strictly controlled the amount he cultivated. Every time, she would only cut a piece for him and give him the rest after he finished absorbing it. Knowing that Little Seven wanted to give her essence to him, she called Little Seven over to teach her a lesson. The energy in her essence was much stronger than these herbs. Mo Yuxing was so weak now. Even if he couldn't absorb a single drop, it would cause an accident. Little Seven was afraid that something like that day would happen again, so she didn't dare to give her essence to Mo Yuxing in private. "Teacher, where's your disciple? I haven't seen him in class recently." Someone asked her in class. "Why? Is there something you can't figure out and want to ask Yuxing?" Sima Yue was already familiar with her students and would occasionally joke with them. She knew that she wouldn't be their teacher and student for long, so she tried her best to help them broaden their path and let them walk further on the path of alchemy. "No way," the student who spoke denied. "It's just that he used to come with you every day. Now that I haven't seen him for a few days, I'm still not used to it. He probably won't come again." Sima Yue said. He has his own things to do. After he could cultivate, he would be able to try alchemy himself. At that time, he wouldn't need to watch others refine pills. After class, Sima Yue's people blocked her way. "Teacher Yue." A seductive girl blocked her way outside the classroom. When she saw her come out, she handed her an invitation and said arrogantly, "Our master invites you to attend a banquet tomorrow night." "Who's your master?" Sima Yue didn't even look at the invitation. "It's the crown prince, right?" "That's right," that girl said proudly. "Our master is hosting a banquet to entertain the teachers of the various academies. He heard that you're good, so he sent you an invitation to attend tomorrow." "No need, I'm not interested." Sima Yue hadn't seen the crown prince before, but to be persuaded by the fourth prince to find trouble with her, it could be seen that he was a brainless person. As soon as she left, the woman suddenly took out a whip and attacked her. Chapter 2294. When the students came out of the classroom and saw this scene, a few of them cried out, "Teacher Yue, be careful." Just as the whip was about to touch Sima Yue's back, she disappeared from her original position. The students all let out a long sigh of relief. How could they forget that their teacher was very powerful? The girl did not think that Sima Yue would actually disappear from her original position without a sound. She looked around vigilantly, trying to see where Sima Yue was. However, the whip in her hand was suddenly snatched away, and her body was ruthlessly whipped. The whip hit her body, and she could not help but cry out in pain. This was not the end of the whip. Before she could react, the whip came from all directions, and she could not retaliate at all. Her dress was torn, and one could even vaguely see places that should not be seen. Being beaten to this extent in public, the girl was extremely ashamed and angry. However, she did not even see Sima Yue's shadow. Sima Yue had whipped enough and slowly appeared in the air. She threw the whip in front of the girl and only said one word, "Scram." Then, she disappeared from her original position and returned to the small courtyard. The girl crawled up from the ground and looked at the students surrounding her. She whipped the ground and fiercely threatened, "If any of you continue to look, I will dig your eyes out." Dressing so flirtatiously in our academy, and you still don't want others to look? Someone jeered. "You better scram quickly. Don't wait for our teacher Yue to come back and slap you to death. I am the first prince's personal servant. You dare to bully me? Be careful of your little lives." The girl ran out after speaking. Some people were worried for Sima Yue. After all, the other party was the first prince. They were worried that the first prince would take revenge after brushing away his face. Teacher Yue is so powerful. Even the first prince can't do anything to her. This is the power of a strong person. We should obediently go back and cultivate. The group of onlookers finally left. Sima Yue returned to the small courtyard. Little Dream and Little Roar were playing in the courtyard while paying attention to Mou's movements. Seeing Sima Yue, Little Roar threw himself into her embrace and said, "Yu, why are you angry?" Although Sima Yue didn't put that woman in her eyes, she wasn't in a good mood after being disgusted by such a self-righteous person. Little Roar and her had a soul contract, so he could feel the minute changes. "I met someone who was blocking my way," she replied. "How's the rain?" "He's been cultivating in his room and hasn't come out yet." Little Dream said, "I didn't expect his willpower to be so firm. After cultivating for so long, he didn't get impatient or anything." Mo Yuxing's mental age was only a few years old, and he was at the age where he was active. They thought that he would come out to play after cultivating for a while, but they didn't expect him to cultivate for 2 days without coming out. For someone as pure as him, once he has someone he wants to protect in his heart, he will be even more persistent. Sima Yue said, "Mo Yuxing is very lucky to have a younger brother like him." At this moment, there was a fluctuation in the house. Sima Yue and Little Dream looked towards Mo Yuxing's room in surprise. He advanced in rank so fast. Little Roar came out from Sima Yue's embrace. "Yue, your disciple's talent is very good. He's a cultivator who went through calamity. How bad can his talent be?" Sima Yue said, "Now he could cultivate, but where was the white tiger? It shouldn't be in the academy. Could it be that she had to bring it out to travel? If not, he wouldn't be able to form a contract with it, even if he stayed in the academy." Sigh, without a direction, she didn't know what the white tiger was going to do. Mo Yuxing successfully advanced in rank. When he opened the door and saw Sima Yue in the courtyard, he ran to her side and smiled. "Master, I advanced in rank." "Not bad." Sima Yue patted his head and said, "Continue to work hard. When you become stronger, you'll be able to protect your 6th royal brother." "Master, give me the big radish. I will absorb it bit by bit," Mo Yuxing promised. "No, you have already advanced in rank so many times. Now, you need to stabilize yourself. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to advance in rank in the future." Sima Yue said, "Do you have anything you want to do?" Mo Yuxing tilted his head and thought for a while before saying, I want to see sixth royal brother and tell him that I advanced in rank. I'll ask the dean if I can contact your sixth royal brother. Sima Yue tried to say, if it's not convenient for your sixth royal brother, let's not disturb him, all right? All right. Sixth royal brother is in danger. You have to be careful. Mo Yuxing obediently replied. Sima Yue saw that he was so obedient and felt a little heartache for his sensible mentality. Actually, she could secretly bring him to see Mo Yuxing, and no one would find out. However, she did not want him to feel that he had to be sneaky in order to see his own brother. He could not understand all of this now. Teacher Yue. There was a knock on the door of the small courtyard. Sima Yue went to open the door and saw that it was Dong Li, who she had not seen in a long time. Director Dong Li, you're back. Please come in. Sima Yue did not know many people in this academy and was rather familiar with things. All right. Dong Li followed her into the courtyard. Mo Yuxing was rather happy to see him and came in front of him to call him. He did not know how to hide his strength. Dong Li saw the fluctuations of spiritual energy on his body and looked at Sima Yue in shock, asking, he knows how to cultivate? Yes. He just started not long ago. Sima Yue did not say much and changed the topic, asking him, now that you're back, are you still going to leave? I won't be leaving for the time being. That's good. If he did not leave for the time being, it meant that the things they were doing in secret were going smoothly. Why are you here today? Sima Yue asked. It's like this. In 2 days, there will be a teachers' meeting. The emperor specifically asked you to attend. Dong Li looked at her with some difficulty. The academy did not have the strength to directly fight with the emperor. Now that the emperor wanted Sima Yue to appear as a teacher, the academy could not refuse. However, they all knew of Sima Yue's strength and did not dare to directly ask her. Invite me? Sima Yue frowned. The first prince's people had just been beaten back, and now the emperor was here. Was this also the fourth prince's doing? Not only you, the seventh prince also wants to go that day. Dong Li said, I don't know if it's because he knows that you accepted the seventh prince as your disciple. 2 days later, since Yuxing wants to go, then I'll bring him. She could bring him to see Mo Yuxing. Then we'll go together 2 days later. All right. Once Dong Li left, Mo Yuxing grabbed her sleeve and asked, Master, are we going to see sixth imperial brother? In 2 days. In these 2 days, I'll teach you how to conceal your aura. Chapter 2295. In terms of cultivation, Mo Yuxing was really talented. He really learned the method of concealing his aura within 2 days. Now that he stood in front of others, no one would know that he could cultivate. Other than this, Sima Yue also left her soul imprint in his sea of consciousness. She even let Little Black turn into a black ribbon and wrap it around his hand. Mo Yuxing didn't understand why she did this, but he knew that she did it for his own good, so he didn't object. After everything was packed, Sima Yue brought Mo Yuxing to the dean. The dean, Dong Li, and 2 other heads were already waiting for them. When they arrived, they got on the beast carriage and drove towards the palace. The first carriage was for the dean and the other heads. Sima Yue brought Mo Yuxing and sat in the second carriage. Mo Yuxing had never seen the outside before. He excitedly pulled open the curtains and looked around. When he saw something fun, his eyes would light up, and he would even dance with joy. Sima Yue kept looking at him with a smile. With such a pure personality, it was really hard to associate him with someone who was going through a tribulation. Master, the outside is really fun. Can we come out more often in the future? Mo Yuxing looked at her expectantly like a child. Do you like the outside? Sima Yue asked. I like it. There are so many things that I haven't seen before. Then Master will bring you to even further places in the future to see different people and things. How about it? Okay. When we reach the palace later, you have to follow me or your sixth brother. You can't be alone, okay? Sima Yue reminded. And then I know. Mo Yuxing had Little Black in her soul imprint. She wasn't worried about his safety, but she wanted to be as low-key as possible. The beast carriage drove all the way to the palace's second gate. They had to walk after that. There were many beast carriages parked here. When Sima Yue and Mo Yushin got off the carriage, they attracted a lot of attention. Those who were able to participate in this academy conference were all people with extraordinary positions in their respective academies. They were either the dean, the vice dean, or the outstanding person in charge of their respective academies. Thus, everyone knew each other. This was the first time he had seen an unfamiliar woman in such an occasion. Moreover, she had brought a young man with her. That youth was clearly mentally handicapped. How could two people like that participate in the academy assembly? Looking at the people around her, weren't they the stubborn old men from the Clear Wind Academy? Dean Hao, this is the academy assembly. Why did you bring irrelevant people here for? Could it be that your academy has no one and you're looking for someone to make up the numbers? After a pot-bellied man finished speaking, the surrounding people all laughed. All of them had either sided with the first prince or the fourth prince. Regardless of which side they were on, none of them had any good feelings towards the Neutral Breeze Academy. Does our Clear Breeze Academy need to make up the numbers? Don't tell me you've forgotten that a single teacher from our academy defeated several of your teachers back then? Dean Hao had a smile on his face. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like a slap to that person's face. TSK, Dean Hao, you can't possibly think that the present is still the same as the past, right? Another tall and skinny man stepped forward and said, it's still unknown what results your Qingfeng Academy will achieve this year. Dean Hao, who is this young lady? If you've casually brought two people here, the Emperor will not allow you to play such tricks. Another person asked. Sima Yue was being sized up by these people. Some of them were scrutinizing her. Some of them were provoking her. Some of them were lustful. And some of them were too revealing, as if they wanted to do something to her. They looked at Mo Yushin with all kinds of disgust and ridicule. Her gaze darkened, and she released her aura, immediately suppressing everyone. PFFF. The people who spoke earlier were focused on by her and couldn't withstand her pressure. They immediately spat out blood and fell to the ground after taking 2 steps back. The others looked at Sima Yue in horror. Who was this person? How could she have such a strong pressure? Dean Hao and the others stood beside Sima Yue and were in a better state than the others. However, they still felt the pressure. Teacher, Mo Yushin tugged on Sima Yue's sleeve. Only then did Sima Yue retract her pressure and coldly said, before you ridicule others, you should first see if you have the qualifications to do so. Yushin, let's go. Those royal brothers of yours probably can't wait to see you. After saying this, she pulled Mo Yushin and walked into the palace. No one dared to say another word. The entire palace entrance was so quiet that water could drip out. Dean Hao and the others knew that Sima Yue was angry, so they didn't say anything and followed her in. After they left, those people slowly came back to their senses. They wiped the sweat off their foreheads and said, who is this girl? How could she be so powerful? No matter who she is, she almost lost her life this time. She even dares to ridicule such a strong person. As expected, she's bold and doesn't care about her own life. That's not all. She's relying on the fact that she's from the First Prince's faction. If that strong person gets angry and kills all of you, TSK, I'm afraid you won't even be able to withstand a single blow, right? Those people who spoke earlier were terrified. Their opponents were starting to hit them while they were down. Don't be happy too early. She came with the Clear Wind Academy. Your relationship with the Clear Wind Academy isn't good either. If we were to be killed, do you think you can escape? Sima Yue wasn't interested in the conversation behind her. She brought Mo Yushin into the palace. The little eunuch who led the way felt his heart tremble. Fortunately, not long after, the emperor and the other princes came out to welcome them. This little eunuch could leave after accomplishing his mission. We are honored that the Venerable One has condescended to participate in the Academy Assembly. Emperor Mo Shao bowed towards Sima Yue. The Emperor has invited the Clear Wind Academy. As a teacher of the Academy, I should come. Moreover, the Emperor has personally sent me an invitation. How can I disappoint the Emperor's good intentions? Sima Yue said with a faint smile. This made the faces of the people who came in behind her turn red. She was actually personally invited by the Emperor. Just now, they had said that she could invite anyone she wanted. Sima Yue patted Mo Yuxing's hand and said, Yuxing, what did we talk about before? Master, I remember. Mo Yuxing let go of her sleeve and took 2 steps forward. He bowed towards Mo Xiao and said, This son greets Imperial Father. Everyone present was stunned when they heard the words Master and Father. Mo Xiao looked at Mo Yuxing and asked with some doubt, You are Yuxing? Yes, Imperial Father. Mo Yuxing stood up and returned to Sima Yue's back. He pulled on her sleeve. With so many people, it was safer to stay by Master's side. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.